Tonight, before we travel too far from home, let's begin with something simple. A quiet sky. Imagine the earth beneath you, turning slowly in the dark. Half the planet is asleep. Cities glow like soft amber dust along the edges of continents. Highways trace faint lines through the night. Ships move across black oceans, clouds drift over moonlit water. And above it all, beyond the thin blue skin of our atmosphere, the stars wait in silence. From the ground, the night sky can feel peaceful. Still, almost familiar. You look up and see scattered points of light, each one resting in its place, as if the universe were a calm ceiling above the world. But that stillness is an illusion created by distance. Every star you see is burning. Every point of light is a nuclear furnace, pouring energy into space. Some are larger than our sun. Some are older. Some are surrounded by worlds we have never seen. And some may have planets where oceans move under alien skies, where mountains rise beneath unfamiliar moons, where clouds gather over landscapes no human eye will ever touch. The sky looks quiet, but it is not empty. That is what makes the silence so strange. For as long as human beings have been able to look upward and wonder, we have imagined that we might not be alone. Long before telescopes, before radio dishes, before rockets, before we knew that the stars were suns, people looked into the dark and felt that the universe was too large to belong only to us. It seemed natural to wonder if somewhere out there, under another sky, something else was wondering too. Not necessarily like us, not with our faces, our hands, our languages, or our dreams, but something, some mind, some awareness, some life that had lifted itself from the surface of its world and looked into the same darkness with the same quiet question. Is anyone else there? And yet, after all this time, no answer has come. No clear message, no confirmed signal. No distant voice crossing the night to tell us that another civilization is waiting somewhere among the stars. We have built telescopes powerful enough to see galaxies from the early universe. We have sent machines to other planets. We have listened to the radio sky. We have watched stars dim as planets pass in front of them. We have measured the atmospheres of worlds so far away that their light arrives only as a faint chemical signature. And still, the deeper we look, the more the universe seems to offer us the same response. Silence. Not a dramatic silence. Not the kind of silence that feels like something is hiding just behind a door. A slower silence. A wider silence. The kind that comes from distances so large that even light grows tired crossing them. And tonight, that is the question we are going to drift through together. Not simply whether life exists beyond Earth. That question is enormous, and we do not know the answer. Tonight, we are asking something more delicate. If other civilizations are out there, why is the universe so good at keeping us apart? Why does the sky remain quiet, even though it is filled with stars? Why does a galaxy with hundreds of billions of suns feel from here like an empty room? Maybe the answer is not that we are alone. Maybe the answer is that the universe is built in such a way that being alone and being unable to find anyone else can look exactly the same. From where we stand, those two possibilities feel almost identical. A truly empty universe would be silent, but a universe filled with civilizations too far away to hear, too distant in time to meet, too faint to detect, and too separated by the laws of physics would also be silent. And that is where the mystery begins. Because the silence above us may not be simple, it may be layered. A silence made from distance. A silence made from time. A silence made from weak signals fading into cosmic noise. A silence made from civilizations that rise and vanish before their neighbors ever know they existed. A silence made from horizons no telescope can cross. a silence made from everyone listening and almost no one speaking. So tonight, as the world grows quiet, we will not rush toward an answer. We will move slowly. We will follow one question through the dark. We will begin here, close to home, beneath a familiar sky, and then slowly let the scale of the universe open around us. Picture a person standing outside at night. Maybe they are on a quiet road far from the city. Maybe they are in a backyard after midnight, with the porch light turned off. Maybe they are standing near the edge of an open field where the air is cool and the stars are bright enough to make the world feel small. They look up. At first, they see only the nearest stars, the ones bright enough to reach the human eye. But behind those stars are more stars. And behind those, more still. The Milky Way stretches across the darkness like a pale river, not a cloud, but the combined light of countless distant suns. Each of those suns is part of a vast spiral galaxy. Our galaxy, a rotating island of stars, gas, dust, planets, moons, comets, black holes, and invisible matter, all turning slowly around a bright and crowded center. And our sun is not near that center. It is not special in its position. It sits in a quieter region, far from the most violent heart of the galaxy, moving with everything else through the dark. Around it, 8 planets travel in ancient paths. One of them is Earth. One small world with oceans, forests, storms, cities, memory, music, and the strange ability to ask questions about the sky. From the surface, the stars look close enough to belong to the same night. But they are not close. They are separated by gulfs so wide that ordinary human words begin to fail. A star that looks like a single point may be so far away that its light began traveling toward us before anyone alive today was born. Some of the stars we see at night are being shown to us as they were years ago, decades ago, centuries ago. The sky is not just space. It is also memory. When you look up, you are not seeing the universe as it is right now. You are seeing pieces of the past arriving gently at your eyes. The farther you look, the older the light becomes. And if that is true for stars in our own galaxy, it is even more true for the galaxies beyond it. A galaxy may look like a small smudge in a telescope, quiet and distant. But the light from that galaxy may have traveled for millions or billions of years before reaching us. By the time we see it, whatever is happening there has already changed. Stars have been born. Stars have died. Planets have cooled. Oceans may have formed and vanished. Civilizations, if they ever existed there, may have risen, flourished, and disappeared long before their light reached Earth. The universe does not show us everything at once. It sends us old news. It gives us echoes. And sometimes, by the time an echo arrives, the place that made it is no longer the same. This is one of the quiet truths behind the night sky. The stars are not only far away, they are out of step with us. The universe is not a single shared moment where everyone can simply look around and meet each other. It is a vast collection of delayed views, slow messages, and ancient light. So when we ask where everyone is, we are asking from inside a delay. We are asking from one small point in space, during one small moment in time, using senses and instruments that can only receive what the universe has allowed to arrive. And perhaps that is why the sky feels so quiet. Not because nothing is happening, but because almost everything is happening too far away, too long ago, or too slowly to become part of our story. Somewhere, there may be a planet circling a calm orange star. On that planet, there may be oceans under a violet sky. There may be continents shaped by unfamiliar weather. There may be life that began in warm seas and climbed over billions of years into intelligence. There may be beings who have built cities of their own, who have mapped their moons, who have learned the chemistry of their air, who have turned instruments toward the stars. And maybe, on some quiet night of their own, they are asking the same question: where is everybody? Maybe they see their sky the way we see ours: beautiful, vast, silent. They do not know about Earth. They do not know our oceans, our languages, our music, our small blue planet turning around an ordinary yellow star. They do not know that we are here, listening. And we do not know that they are there. Not because either world is empty. Not because either side has failed to wonder. But because wondering is easy, crossing the dark is not. Between one curious world and another may lie hundreds of light years, thousands of light years or more. Between one civilization and another may lie not just space, but entire eras. One may speak before the other exists. One may listen after the other has gone quiet. One may send a signal that becomes too weak before it reaches anyone at all. And from inside that separation, the result is the same. No answer. Only the stars. That is the strange beauty of this question. It is not only scientific, it is emotional. It touches something deep in us, something older than astronomy. The wish to be known. The wish to know that somewhere, beyond the dark, another mind is awake. But the universe does not shape itself around our wishes. It is large in ways that do not bend toward us. It is old in ways that do not wait for us. It allows stars to form, planets to cool, oceans to gather, life to rise, and minds to look upward. But it does not promise that those minds will ever find each other. And so the night sky becomes two things at once: a field of possibility and a wall of silence. When we look at it, we are looking at everything that might be out there, and everything that may forever remain beyond reach. That is why this journey needs to begin slowly. Not with panic, not with certainty, not with the claim that we are alone, but with the quiet recognition that the silence itself deserves attention. Because silence, on this scale, may have a shape. It may have causes. It may have physics behind it. It may be the natural sound of a universe where light has a speed limit, where signals fade, where time separates civilizations as surely as distance does, and where the very expansion of space can carry worlds away from each other faster than any message can cross the gap. Tonight, we will follow that silence. We will not treat it as an empty answer. We will treat it as a landscape. A vast, dark landscape made of laws, distances, histories, and horizons. And we will move through it gently. First, we will ask why the sky seems as though it should be full of voices. Why, with so many stars and so many possible worlds, the expectation of life feels almost unavoidable. Then we will let the scale widen. We will watch light travel and see how even the fastest thing in the universe becomes slow when the universe is large enough. We will follow a signal as it leaves Earth and spreads outward, growing thinner and fainter until it becomes almost indistinguishable from the background hiss between stars. We will think about civilizations that may never meet, not because they are too different, but because they are born in different chapters of cosmic time. We will approach the edge of what can ever be seen, the horizon beyond which no message can reach us. We will pass through the dust and gas of the galaxy, where even light does not travel cleanly. We will imagine a Milky Way full of listeners, each one waiting for someone else to speak first. And near the end, we will return to Earth, to this small world beneath the silent stars, and ask what the silence really means. Does it mean absence or distance? Does it mean we are alone? Or only that finding another mind in a universe this large is harder than we ever wanted to believe? For now, just rest with the sky above you. Let the Earth turn. Let the stars remain where they are, far away and burning quietly. Let the question open slowly in the dark. If the universe is filled with places where life could begin, if it has had billions of years to make worlds, oceans, atmospheres, and minds, then why, from here, does it feel so still? Why does the night give us beauty but no answer? Why does the sky shine, and yet say nothing. That is where we begin. The strange thing about the silence is that, at first, it does not seem like silence is what we should expect. When you look up at the night sky, you are not looking at a small place. You are looking toward a galaxy so large that the human mind has to shrink it into symbols just to hold it. A pale band across the dark. A river of stars. A soft glow on a moonless night. But that glow is not mist. It is distance. It is the blended light of suns too numerous for the eye to separate. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains hundreds of billions of stars. Not thousands, not millions, billions upon billions of them. Each one a center of gravity, each one a source of heat and light. Each one with its own history, its own birth cloud, its own slow journey around the galaxy. And now we know something our ancestors could only guess. Stars often have planets. Planets are not rare jewels scattered sparsely through an empty universe. They appear to be one of the common outcomes of star formation itself. When a star is born from a collapsing cloud of gas and dust, a disk of material often forms around it. Inside that disk, dust grains collide, stick together, grow into pebbles, then stones, then worlds. Some become hot, rocky planets close to their stars. Some become cold giants wrapped in hydrogen and helium. Some become frozen bodies at the edge of their systems. Some may settle into that gentle middle distance where sunlight is neither too fierce nor too weak, where water might remain liquid on a surface, where chemistry can move, mix, dissolve, react, and maybe, given enough time, become something more. This is where the question begins to deepen. Because if the galaxy has hundreds of billions of stars, and if many of those stars have planets, and if even a small fraction of those planets are rocky worlds, and if even a small fraction of those rocky worlds have water, atmospheres, and stable climates, then the number of possible places for life becomes enormous. Not guaranteed, not simple, but enormous. The galaxy begins to feel less like a dark ocean with one small island, and more like a vast archipelago of hidden shores. Most of them too far away to see clearly, many of them hostile, many frozen, burned, crushed, airless, or unstable. But perhaps some are gentle enough. Perhaps some have oceans. Perhaps some have clouds. Perhaps some have mornings, tides, storms, seasons, and long ages of quiet chemistry. And if life can begin in one place, as it did here, then the next question comes almost naturally. Why not somewhere else? Earth does not appear to be placed at the center of creation. Our sun is not the largest star, or the oldest, or the brightest. Our planet is not the biggest, or the most massive, or the most dramatic. We orbit in a calm region of an ordinary spiral galaxy around a middle-aged star on one rocky planet among many kinds of worlds. And yet here we are. A planet made of stone and water became a planet with cells. A planet with cells became a planet with forests, reefs, wings, eyes, bones, songs, tools, cities, telescopes, and questions. At some point, matter woke up and looked back at the stars. If that happened here, on one world around one ordinary star, then it is difficult not to wonder how many other quiet worlds may have followed their own long paths. Maybe life begins easily when the conditions are right. Maybe it does not. We do not know. Earth gives us only one example, and one example is not enough to tell us what the universe usually does. But still, the scale is hard to ignore. Even if life is rare, the galaxy is large enough to give rarity many chances. Even if only one world in a million develops simple life, the Milky Way may still hold many living worlds. Even if only one living world in a million develops intelligence, the long history of the galaxy may still have produced minds other than ours. And if only a few of those minds ever learn to use technology, to send signals, to build instruments, to wonder across distance, then the sky begins to feel as though it should not be completely quiet. Somewhere, We imagine there should be a sign, a pulse, a pattern, a beam of light, a radio whisper, a strange chemical mark in the atmosphere of a distant planet, a structure around a star that nature alone would not build. Some trace, somewhere, that intelligence is not unique to Earth. This expectation is not foolish. It is not childish. It comes from taking the size of the universe seriously. When the numbers become large enough, silence begins to feel like a mystery. Imagine standing on a beach at night. The ocean is dark, and you cannot see far beyond the waves. But you know there are islands beyond the horizon. You know there are ships, coastlines, lights, ports, and other people somewhere across the water. If you called into the wind and heard nothing back, you would not immediately assume the entire ocean was empty. You would first think your voice was too weak, or the wind was too loud, or the nearest shore was too far away, or everyone else was asleep. The galaxy may be like that, a vast, dark ocean where we stand on one shore, listening. The silence does not immediately prove emptiness. It only tells us that nothing has reached us clearly enough to be recognized. And yet the silence remains. That is what gives this question its weight. Because by now, humanity has done more than simply wonder. We have listened, not for very long compared with the age of the universe, not everywhere, not across every possible frequency, not with perfect instruments, but we have listened. We have built radio telescopes, huge and patient, shaped like bowls open to the sky. We have aimed them at stars. We have scanned parts of the galaxy. We have searched for narrow signals that might stand out from natural cosmic noise. We have looked for patterns that nature would be unlikely to produce by accident. And so far, no confirmed voice has answered. The night remains full of natural sound. Stars hiss in radio waves. Pulsars tick like cosmic clocks. Black holes disturb the space around them. Hydrogen gas hums faintly through the galaxy. Distant galaxies pour out radiation from events so powerful they can be seen across billions of light years. The universe is not silent in the physical sense. It is alive with energy. It glows in radio, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays. It trembles with gravitational waves. It carries the afterglow of the Big Bang in every direction. It is full of motion, heat, collapse, explosion, fusion, magnetism, and time. But when we listen for technology, when we listen for intention, when we listen for something that sounds like a mind trying to be known, the sky becomes quiet again. This is the heart of the mystery. A universe full of noise, a galaxy full of stars, a sky full of possible worlds, but no confirmed sign of anyone calling back. For many people, this question is known through a simple phrase: where is everybody? It sounds almost casual, like someone stepping into a room that should be crowded, only to find the lights on and the chairs empty. Where is everybody? The question feels small when spoken that way, but it contains an entire universe of tension. Because if planets are common, and if time is abundant, and if life has had billions of years to emerge in many places, then why does our sky not show the marks of other civilizations? Why do we not see the galaxy crossed by ancient machines? Why do we not detect powerful signals from societies older than ours? Why do we not find evidence of vast structures built to capture the energy of stars? Why does the universe look natural everywhere we look? Beautiful, violent, immense, but natural. No clear footprints, no unmistakable engineering, no greeting written across the dark. One possible answer is simple and lonely. Maybe there is no one else. Maybe life is so rare that Earth is not merely uncommon, but nearly alone. Maybe the steps from chemistry to cells, from cells to complex life, from complex life to intelligence, and from intelligence to technology are so difficult that they almost never happen. Maybe the universe is filled with planets, but most of them remain forever quiet. Worlds with rocks and skies. Worlds with storms and seas. Worlds where chemistry begins but never crosses the strange threshold into life. Or worlds where life begins and stays simple, hidden in oceans, deep beneath ice, or buried in rock, never looking upward, never building a radio dish, never changing its planet in a way another civilization could see. That could be true. But it is not the only possibility. Another answer is softer, stranger, and in some ways even more haunting. Maybe the universe is not empty. Maybe it is full of beginnings, full of worlds where life has appeared, full of minds that have looked up from alien landscapes, full of civilizations that have built their own instruments, asked their own questions, and waited beneath their own stars. But maybe the universe is arranged so that each one is wrapped in its own silence. Maybe every civilization is born inside a kind of invisible room. The walls of that room are not made of stone. They are made of distance. They are made of time. They are made of light moving at a fixed speed. They are made of signals growing weaker as they spread. They are made of the briefness of technological ages compared with the deep age of the galaxy. They are made of the simple fact that two worlds can both be alive, both be curious, both be listening, and still never overlap in the right way. This is the possibility we are going to follow, not because it is the only answer, but because it may be the answer that best fits the feeling of the night sky. A sky that seems too rich to be empty, and too quiet to be easily understood. Think of the Milky Way not as it looks from Earth, but from far above its spiral arms. Imagine it slowly turning in the dark, a great disk of stars, pale and blue-white, crossed by lanes of dust. Its center glows warmly, crowded with ancient suns. Its arms curve outward in long streams of gas and light. Star-forming regions shine like soft embers. Dark clouds drift through it like ink in water. Now imagine that life appears in scattered places across that disk. Not everywhere, not often, but sometimes. A warm ocean beneath a yellow star, a moon with a hidden sea beneath ice, a rocky planet around an orange dwarf, a world with two small moons and long blue shadows, a planet where life learns to breathe its atmosphere, another where intelligence rises beneath a thicker sky, another where machines are built beside an alien shore. Each one rare, each one precious. Each one separated from the others by distances so large that even the galaxy itself cannot make them feel close. From above, you might imagine these civilizations as tiny lights appearing across the spiral. One turns on in a quiet outer arm. Another appears 10,000 light-years away. Another flickers near a cluster of older stars. Another shines briefly and fades. Another has not yet begun. Another ended before Earth formed. Another will not appear until long after our sun has changed. From far enough away, the galaxy might look alive with possibility. But from the surface of any one world, almost all of that possibility is unreachable. A civilization does not experience the galaxy from above. It experiences the universe from one small address, one sky, one moment, one narrow window of time. It can only receive signals that arrive where it is, while it exists, in a form it can understand, strong enough to rise above the noise. That is a much smaller target than the imagination wants it to be. So the question changes. It is no longer only, are there others? It becomes, can others ever become visible to us? Can two distant islands of intelligence line up across space and time in just the right way? Can a message be sent, survive the journey, arrive during the lifetime of a civilization capable of hearing it, and be recognized as more than noise? Suddenly, the silence does not feel quite as impossible. it begins to feel like something the universe could produce naturally. Not because there is no life, but because contact is a far more delicate event than existence. A planet only has to exist in the right conditions to grow life. A civilization only has to rise once to wonder about the stars. But contact requires two civilizations, two locations, two timelines, two technologies, two choices, and a signal that survives everything between them. That is a much harder thing. Existence may be common, contact may be rare. And from inside our small window, the difference between those two can be almost impossible to see. The sky may be full of worlds that never become voices, full of voices that never reach us, full of messages that pass too early, too late, too faint, or too strange, full of listeners waiting beneath different stars, each one surrounded by the same deep quiet. This is why the silence matters, not because it gives us a final answer, but because it forces us to think more carefully about what an answer would need to cross before it reached us. The galaxy may contain many possible homes for life. The numbers may be large, the stars may be abundant, the planets may be everywhere, and still the sky above Earth can remain quiet, because a voice in the universe is not enough. A voice has to travel. And in the next part of this journey, we will begin to understand what that really means. We will follow the fastest messenger the universe allows. Light. The thing that crosses the distance from the sun to Earth in just over 8 minutes. The thing that carries starlight into our eyes. The thing that makes astronomy possible. The thing that seems, in ordinary life, almost impossibly fast. And we will see that in a universe this large, even light is slow. So for now, rest for a moment beneath this quiet sky. A sky that should be full of voices. A sky that may, somewhere beyond our reach, be full of them. And yet from here, from this one small world, turning gently in the dark, all we can hear is the silence between the stars. Light feels instant to us. You flip a switch, and a room appears. You open a curtain, and morning pours across the floor. Lightning flashes in the distance, and for one bright second the whole sky seems to reveal itself at once. In ordinary life, light does not feel like something that travels. It feels like something that simply arrives. It feels immediate, effortless, everywhere. It moves so quickly through the small spaces of human experience that our minds rarely notice the journey. But the universe is not built on the scale of rooms, or cities, or continents, or even planets. The universe is so large that the fastest thing allowed by nature becomes slow enough to shape the fate of civilizations. Light is the messenger of the cosmos. It carries the warmth of the sun. It brings the stars into our eyes. It lets telescopes read the history of galaxies. It moves through empty space at a speed so great that nothing with mass can catch it, match it, or pass it. And yet, when the distances become cosmic, even light begins to feel patient. From the moon to Earth, light takes a little more than 1 second to cross the gap. That means when you look at the moon, you are not seeing it exactly as it is. You are seeing it as it was just over a second ago. That delay is tiny, almost nothing. A breath, a blink, a small pause between the world and your awareness of it. From the sun to Earth, light takes about 8 minutes. The sunlight touching your face on a clear afternoon began its journey before you noticed it. It left the surface of the sun, crossed 93 million miles of space, passed through the thin atmosphere of Earth, and became warmth on your skin. If the sun could suddenly disappear, Earth would not know right away. For 8 quiet minutes, sunlight would still arrive. The sky would still be blue. Shadows would still fall behind trees and buildings. Birds might still move through the air. The world would continue under the old light of a star that was already gone. Only after those minutes passed would the truth reach us. That is the first lesson. The universe does not deliver reality instantly. It delivers it at the speed of light. And the farther away something is, the older its message becomes. Within our own solar system, that delay already begins to stretch. Light from Mars may take several minutes to reach us, depending on where Earth and Mars are in their orbits. Light from Jupiter takes longer. From Saturn, longer still. From the icy edges of the solar system, sunlight becomes faint, and any message returning to Earth must cross hours of darkness before it reaches us. Even here, inside our own small neighborhood around one star, communication is not instant. A spacecraft near Mars cannot be guided like a drone in a backyard. A command sent from Earth takes time to arrive. A response takes time to return. The farther out we send our machines, the more every conversation becomes an exercise in waiting. We send a question. The spacecraft receives it later. It sends back an answer. We hear it later still. The solar system is already large enough to teach us patience. But the solar system is almost nothing compared with the spaces between stars. The nearest star system to our own is Alpha Centauri, and within it, Proxima Centauri sits a little over 4 light-years away. That sounds almost close because the number is small. 4. A simple number. A number you can hold in your mind. But a light year is not a year of time. It is a distance. It is how far light travels in 1 year, moving at about 186,000 miles every second. Every second. Across that 1 second, light could circle Earth several times. And yet it needs more than 4 years to reach the nearest neighboring star. Think about that gently. The closest star beyond the Sun is so far away that if you sent it a message tonight, traveling at the fastest speed the universe permits, the message would not arrive until more than 4 years from now. If someone there replied immediately, their answer would take another 4 years to return. A simple hello would become an 8-year exchange. 8 years for one greeting. 8 years for the smallest possible conversation. And that is our nearest neighbor. Not the far side of the galaxy. Not a distant civilization. Not a world selected because it is especially promising. Just the closest star system to home. Already the universe has made conversation feel strange, slow, stretched, almost ceremonial. At interstellar distances, a message is no longer a phone call. It is more like placing a letter into the dark and trusting that years later, somewhere beyond the sun, it may be opened. The distances only grow from there. A star 50 light-years away is close by galactic standards. It belongs to our local region, our nearby neighborhood of stars. In a map of the Milky Way, it would be almost on top of us. But a message to that star would take 50 years to arrive. A reply would take 50 years to come home. One question, one answer, a century. A civilization could change in that time. A child could be born, grow old, and die before the reply to a single message crossed the distance between 2 nearby stars. And again, 50 light-years is not far in the language of the galaxy. A star 500 light-years away is still in our neighborhood. A star 5,000 light-years away is still in our galaxy. The Milky Way itself stretches roughly 100,000 light-years from one side to the other. Light needs 100,000 years to cross it, not a spacecraft. Not a slow radio signal. Light, the fastest messenger, the thing that seems instant in a room, the thing that turns on the morning, the thing that makes the stars visible at all. Across the full width of the galaxy, even light takes longer than recorded human history. Longer than agriculture, longer than cities, longer than written language. Longer than every empire, every kingdom, every nation, every song, every building, every invention we have ever made. A beam of light leaving one side of the Milky Way when early humans were still living in the deep prehistoric world would only now be reaching the other side. This is where the scale begins to change the meaning of silence. Because if there is another civilization somewhere in our galaxy, it is not enough that they exist. It is not enough that they build technology. It is not enough that they send a message. Their message has to cross an ocean of time. If they are 10,000 light years away, their signal takes 10,000 years to reach us. By the time we hear it, the civilization that sent it may have changed beyond recognition. Their languages may be different. Their cities may be gone. Their world may have entered an age we cannot imagine. Or they may no longer exist at all. A message across the galaxy is not a conversation with the present. It is contact with the past. It is archaeology made of light. That is one of the deepest problems with finding anyone else. The universe allows information to travel, but it does not allow it to arrive fresh across cosmic distances. Everything comes late. Everything is delayed by the size of the dark. When we look at a star 100 years away, we see it as it was a century ago. When we look toward a distant nebula, we see gas and dust as they were when their light began traveling. When we look at a galaxy millions of light years away, we are not seeing its current moment. We are seeing an ancient version of it, preserved in light, still arriving long after the place itself has moved on. The sky is not a window into now. It is a memory field, layer upon layer of old light. And if another civilization is somewhere out there, their presence would come to us the same way. Not as they are, as they were. This makes the search feel more delicate. Imagine a world circling a star 2,000 light years away. On that world, an intelligent species builds its first transmitters. They discover radio. They learn that their star is one among many. They build observatories in high deserts, on frozen plains, on mountaintops, under thin air. They point their instruments upward and wonder if anyone else is listening. Maybe one night they send a deliberate signal. A careful pattern, a mathematical greeting, a small announcement to the galaxy. We are here. The signal leaves their planet and travels outward at the speed of light. It passes their moons. It passes the outer worlds of their system. It leaves the warmth of their star and enters the wide, cold space between suns. For 10 years it travels. Then 100. Then 500. Then 1,000. Still, it has not reached Earth. On the world that sent it, generations pass. The people who built the transmitter are gone. Their children are gone. Their languages drift. Their technology changes. Their cities expand, decline, rebuild, transform. Maybe their civilization becomes quiet. Maybe it becomes wiser. Maybe it destroys itself. Maybe it leaves its planet. Maybe it forgets the signal was ever sent. And then, 2,000 years after that first message entered the dark, it arrives here. It reaches the space around Earth. It washes over the planet as a faint disturbance. And what are we doing at that exact moment? Are we listening? Are our instruments pointed in the right direction? Are we tuned to the right frequency? Is the signal strong enough? Do we recognize it as artificial, or does it pass through the sky unnoticed, one more whisper lost among the natural noise of the universe? The entire possibility of contact may depend on such fragile coincidences. The sender has to speak. The receiver has to be alive. The receiver has to be listening. The message has to survive. The timing has to align. Light may be fast, but it cannot fix that. It can only carry the message. It cannot make the universe smaller. And this is only within the Milky Way. Beyond our galaxy, the scale becomes almost dreamlike. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large galactic neighbor, is about 2.5 million light-years away. It is close enough to be seen with the naked eye under dark skies, a faint blur in the night. A soft smudge of ancient light. But that little smudge is another galaxy. A vast spiral containing hundreds of billions of stars. Worlds, perhaps, beyond counting. Maybe oceans. Maybe moons. Maybe histories. Maybe life. Maybe minds. But the light from Andromeda takes 2.5 million years to reach us. When you see it, you are seeing a galaxy as it was before modern humans existed. Before cities. Before language as we know it. Before the first fires were carried through the dark by hands like ours. If there were a civilization in Andromeda sending a signal toward us, and we received it tonight, that signal would have begun its journey when our ancestors were still living in a world without astronomy, without writing, without any idea that the faint glow in the sky was another island of stars. And if we answered, our reply would take another 2.5 million years to arrive. A full exchange would take 5 million years. 5 million years for hello. Across such distances, communication stops resembling conversation at all. It becomes a message in a bottle thrown not into an ocean, but into deep time. Andromeda is close by cosmic standards. Beyond it are galaxy groups, galaxy clusters, superclusters, filaments of the cosmic web, and vast spaces where galaxies are scattered like distant lanterns in an expanding dark. Some of the galaxies we observe are so far away that their light began traveling when the universe was young. We see them not as they are now, but as they were billions of years ago, when stars and galaxies were still assembling their first great structures. If a civilization exists in one of those galaxies today, their present is unreachable to us. Their now is hidden behind the slow travel of light. We may see their ancient stars. We may study their early forms, but we cannot know what they have become. This is one of the quiet barriers the universe places between minds. Distance becomes time. To look far away is to look backward. To listen far away is to listen to what may no longer exist. The universe does not give us a shared present across its vastness. It gives us delayed fragments, and somewhere inside those delays, the hope of finding another civilization becomes much more complicated. Now imagine for a moment that a civilization far older than ours once existed in the Milky Way. Perhaps they lived around a star that formed billions of years before the sun. Perhaps they rose on a world with copper-colored oceans and wide rings in the sky. Perhaps they built instruments, sent probes, mapped nearby stars, and searched for neighbors. Maybe they found none. Maybe, after centuries of listening, they sent signals in every direction. Those signals crossed the galaxy. Some passed through regions where no one was listening. Some arrived at planets where life had not yet begun. Some passed Earth when Earth was young, when its surface was volcanic and empty, when no eyes watched the stars and no minds could hear a message. The signals kept traveling. They thinned. They faded. They became part of the background. And by the time humanity existed, that civilization was long gone. From our point of view, the sky is silent. But perhaps it has not always been silent. Perhaps messages have crossed this part of the galaxy before. Perhaps we were simply not here yet. That thought changes the feeling of the night. The silence above us may not mean that nothing has ever spoken. It may mean we arrived after the voices passed, or before the next ones begin. We are used to thinking of space as the thing that separates us. But time may be just as powerful. A civilization can miss another civilization the way two ships can pass on a dark ocean. Not because they are far apart, but because one crosses before the other reaches the same place. Only in the universe, the ocean is made of years, thousands, millions, billions. Light moves through that ocean faithfully, but not magically. It does not erase the delay. It is the delay. Every beam of light carries with it the age of its journey. That is why even the fastest thing in the universe may not be fast enough for connection. Fast enough to show us the stars. Fast enough to warm a planet. Fast enough to let us measure galaxies and discover worlds. but perhaps not fast enough to let civilizations find each other while they are both still there. The speed of light is often described as a limit, a rule, a boundary nothing can cross. But for this journey, it may help to think of it another way. The speed of light is the tempo of the universe. It is the pace at which reality can inform one place about another. It is how fast news travels through space. And the universe is so large that its news arrives ancient. A star dies, and the information travels outward. A planet forms, and its reflected light spreads into the dark. A civilization builds a transmitter, and its signal begins the long journey. But everything must wait for light. No matter how urgent the message, no matter how curious the listener, no matter how lonely the sender. The message travels at the same calm speed, across the same enormous dark. And perhaps that is why the stars can feel so quiet. Not because they have nothing to say, but because even if they do, their words are moving through a universe too large for quick answers. Think again of Earth at night. Radio towers blinking red on distant hills. Satellites crossing silently overhead. Cities glowing along coastlines. Somewhere, a telescope turns. Somewhere, a dish listens. Somewhere, a computer searches for patterns in noise. We are a young technological civilization wrapped in the darkness of one small planet, trying to hear across distances that make even light seem slow. And above us, the sky shines with messages from the past. Every star is a delayed arrival. Every galaxy is an old photograph. Every patch of darkness may be hiding not emptiness, but distance too deep for a message to cross in time. This does not mean the search is hopeless. It means the search is humbling. It means that if we ever do find a signal, it may not be a conversation, it may be a fossil, a preserved trace of a mind that spoke long ago, a lighthouse from a shore we cannot visit, a memory moving at the speed of light. And perhaps that would still be enough. Perhaps even an ancient message would change everything. To know that somewhere, at some time, the universe produced another mind would mean the silence was never complete. It would mean the night had carried a voice after all. But until such a message arrives, we remain here, under the old light of stars, learning what distance does to hope. The sky should be full of voices. Maybe it is. But voices need time to travel. And time, in the universe, is not a gentle detail. It is one of the walls. So as we continue drifting outward, keep this feeling with you. The feeling of light leaving the sun and taking minutes to find Earth. The feeling of a greeting taking years to reach the nearest star. The feeling of a message crossing the galaxy for longer than human civilization has existed. The feeling of Andromeda shining as it was before humanity began. This is the pace of the cosmos. Slow light, old news, delayed answers. A universe where even the fastest messenger arrives carrying the past. And once we understand that, another question waits for us in the dark. If light itself is slow across the universe, what happens to a signal as it travels? What happens to a voice when it spreads in every direction, thinner and thinner, across the cold spaces between the stars? Because distance does not only delay a message, it weakens it, it stretches it, it buries it beneath the quiet noise of the cosmos. And that is where we will go next. Into the fading whisper, the voice that leaves a world brightly and slowly disappears into the dark. A message leaving Earth does not travel like a stone thrown across a pond. It does not stay whole. It does not move forward as one solid thing, sharp and clear forever. A signal spreads, it opens, it thins. The farther it travels, the more of space it has to cover. And as it expands into the dark, the energy that once seemed strong near its source becomes softer, weaker, harder to separate from everything else the universe is already saying. This is one of the quietest problems in the search for another civilization. Not only that messages arrive late, but that by the time they arrive, they may no longer sound like messages at all. Imagine Earth about a century ago. The planet is still the same blue world, but quieter than it is now. Fewer satellites, fewer bright cities, fewer invisible signals wrapping around the globe. Radio is young. Television is just beginning. Human civilization has discovered that invisible waves can carry music, speech, news, warnings, songs, and stories through the air. A voice enters a microphone. A transmitter turns that voice into an electromagnetic wave. The wave rises from an antenna, moves outward, passes through the atmosphere, and escapes into space. At first, near Earth, it is part of the human world. A broadcast, a program, a song, a sentence, a fragment of weather reports, music, speeches, baseball games, old dramas, laughter, commercials, static, and ordinary human noise. Some of it travels across the planet. Some of it leaks upward. And once it leaves Earth, it does not stop. There is no wall around the solar system. No ceiling above the atmosphere. No final edge where a signal simply ends. It keeps going, out past the clouds, out past the orbit of the moon, out past the silent paths of Mars and Jupiter, out through the wide, cold space where the sun becomes just one bright star behind it. For a while, it is still Earth's voice, faint, but real. A thin shell of radio energy expanding in every direction, growing larger with every second. You could imagine it like a bubble. At the center is Earth. Around it, moving outward at the speed of light, is the memory of our first broadcasts. Every year, the bubble grows by 1 light year. After 10 years, it has reached stars 10 light years away. After 50 years, stars 50 light years away. After 100 years, it has spread through a sphere roughly 200 light years across. That sounds large, and in human terms, it is. 100 light years feels enormous. It contains many stars, many possible worlds, many places where, in imagination, someone might look up and receive the first faint evidence that Earth is here. But the galaxy is not built on human terms. The Milky Way is about 100,000 light years across. Against that scale, our radio bubble is still tiny. A small shimmer around one ordinary star. A single candle glow in a continent of night. And there is a deeper problem. The bubble grows larger, but the signal does not grow stronger. It spreads its energy over a larger and larger surface. The same original transmission has to cover more space with every passing year. So the farther it travels, the weaker it becomes. This is not because the universe is trying to erase it. It is simply geometry. The signal expands in all directions. Its strength is shared across a growing sphere. The area of that sphere increases with distance, and the energy per unit area drops quickly. A signal that is clear nearby becomes faint far away. A signal that is faint becomes nearly impossible to find. A signal that is nearly impossible to find becomes, for practical purposes, silence. This means that Earth's accidental radio leakage, the ordinary broadcasts we have sent into the sky without aiming them at anyone, may not be the bright announcement we sometimes imagine. From far away, it may not sound like a voice. It may not sound like a civilization. It may not even rise above the background. It may dissolve into the natural hiss of space. The universe is not quiet in the way an empty room is quiet. It has its own background sound. Not sound in the air, because space has no air to carry ordinary sound, but electromagnetic noise, radiation, natural signals, the faint afterglow of the early universe, the radio murmurs of stars, gas, magnetic fields, old explosions, and distant objects so powerful that their energy crosses unimaginable distances. Against that background, a weak signal from a small planet can vanish. It is like trying to hear one person whisper from across an ocean during a storm. The whisper may exist, the words may be real, but existence is not the same as being heard. This is important. A civilization can send something into space and still remain invisible. A world can leak radio waves for a century and still not announce itself clearly to the galaxy. A planet can be alive with technology, cities, towers, satellites, and signals, and from only a modest distance away, it can look almost exactly like a planet that never spoke at all. That is the strange cruelty of distance. It can make effort and absence look the same. Not because nothing was sent, but because what was sent became too faint to separate from the dark. Now imagine another civilization, somewhere hundreds of light years away. They may have their own version of radio, their own early broadcasts, their own accidental leakage. Maybe, on their world, there was a first night when music crossed the sky without anyone meaning to send it to the stars. Maybe there were news reports, emergency messages, quiet conversations, entertainment, scientific transmissions, songs made for one city that slipped upward and began traveling forever. Those waves may be moving through space right now. Perhaps some of them are passing near Earth. Perhaps they have already passed. Perhaps they will arrive thousands of years from now. But would we know? Would our instruments recognize them? Would they be strong enough? Would they arrive at a frequency we are watching, from a direction we are measuring, at a moment when we are paying attention? Or would they blend into the low, endless noise of the universe? The answer may depend on details so delicate that the word contact begins to feel almost fragile. It is not enough for a civilization to be there. It is not enough for it to transmit. It is not enough for the transmission to travel. It has to arrive in a way that can still be distinguished from everything else. Like a single footprint found after a storm, the signal must survive the weather of space. And space has many kinds of weather. Between the stars, there is not perfect emptiness. There is gas, dust, plasma, magnetic fields, charged particles. Faint material spread so thinly that it seems like nothing, but over light years, over hundreds of light years, over thousands of light years, even almost nothing begins to matter. A radio pulse traveling through this medium can be delayed, stretched, scattered, and blurred. Different frequencies can move through charged particles in slightly different ways. A sharp pulse can become smeared. A clean signal can arrive softened around the edges. Light can be absorbed by dust. Certain wavelengths can be blocked or weakened. The galaxy is not a clear glass room. It is more like a deep, dim forest. You may see through parts of it. You may hear faint things through it. But every path is different. Some are open, some are crowded, some are filled with dust, some pass near violent regions, some cross clouds where signals lose their shape. From Earth, we do not listen through one simple window. We listen through a complicated galaxy. And that means a message from another civilization may have to do more than cross distance. It may have to survive the galaxy itself. This makes the silence above us feel different. It is not the clean silence of a place where no one has spoken. It may be the muffled silence of a place where voices cannot travel cleanly. A world may call. The message may spread. It may thin. It may brush against dust. It may pass through plasma. It may arrive stretched and weakened. And by the time it reaches another star, it may no longer carry enough of its original shape to be recognized as a voice. The universe allows messages to leave, but it does not promise to preserve them. Think of a lighthouse on a foggy coast. Nearby, the beam is bright. It sweeps across the rocks, clear and sharp. A ship close to shore can see it easily and know there is land ahead. But far out at sea, the beam becomes faint. Fog scatters it. Rain breaks it. Waves rise. Distance eats the edges. A sailor might look toward the coast and see only a soft blur, or nothing at all. The lighthouse is still shining. The problem is not intention. The problem is the journey. Earth may be such a lighthouse. So may any other world with technology. Each civilization may shine in its own way. Each may leak signals into the night. Each may build instruments and transmitters and quiet machines that send evidence of thought into space. But most of those beams may never become clear to anyone else. They fade too quickly. They spread too widely. They arrive too weak. And this may explain something that otherwise feels almost impossible. A galaxy can contain many technological worlds and still sound empty from any one of them. Not because they are silent at home, but because they are not loud enough across the dark. This idea is especially important because we often imagine advanced civilizations as bright and obvious. We picture them lighting up the galaxy, building enormous structures, sending powerful messages, leaving traces so large that even from Earth we would notice, and perhaps some would. Perhaps somewhere there are civilizations that use energy on a scale we can barely imagine. Perhaps there are structures around stars, engineered worlds, signals meant to cross great distances, deliberate beacons placed in the sky. But that is an assumption. A hope. A story we tell because it would make the search easier. A more advanced civilization might not become louder. It might become quieter. It might use energy more efficiently. It might communicate through tight beams instead of leaking signals everywhere. It might move from broadcast noise to focused systems, fiber, lasers, neutrinos, or technologies we do not yet understand. It might leave a smaller footprint as it becomes more mature. Humanity may already be moving in that direction. Our early broadcast age was noisy. Signals spilled outward because our technology was young, broad, and inefficient. But much of modern communication is more directed, more contained, more carefully routed. A planet can become more connected internally while becoming less visible from far away. That is a strange thought. Progress may not make a civilization easier to find. It may make it disappear. Not physically, not culturally, but astronomically. Its voice may become private, narrow, efficient, and nearly invisible across interstellar distances. If that pattern is common, then the galaxy may not be filled with bright, careless signals. It may be filled with quiet, careful worlds, each one listening more than it speaks. And even when they do speak, the message may not be meant for everyone. It may be aimed at one target, one star, one probe, one nearby system, a narrow beam crossing the dark like a needle of light. Unless Earth happens to fall directly in that beam, we would never know it passed. This is another reason silence can be misleading. We tend to imagine the galaxy as if signals were filling it evenly, as if every civilization were broadcasting in all directions, as if the night should be crowded with messages, but broadcasting to the entire galaxy is expensive. Energy has to come from somewhere. A powerful signal sent in all directions wastes almost all of its strength into empty space. Most of it will never hit a listener. Most of it will pass between stars, between planets, between possible receivers, and continue outward, thinning forever. A civilization careful with energy might decide not to shout. It might listen. It might wait. It might send only when it has a target. And from the outside, a galaxy full of careful listeners can look exactly like a galaxy with no one there. Imagine a dark room filled with people. Each person sits quietly, waiting to hear someone else speak. No one wants to be the first to break the silence. No one knows if speaking is safe. No one knows if anyone else is listening. Every person hears nothing, and each one concludes they may be alone. But the room is not empty. It is only quiet. The Milky Way may not be like that, but it could be. And if it is, the silence becomes less like an answer and more like a pattern of hesitation spread across stars. Civilizations may have many reasons not to broadcast loudly. Energy cost, uncertainty, caution, fear, indifference, a belief that no one is close enough, a conclusion that listening is more practical than speaking, or simply the natural evolution of technology toward quieter systems. So even if there are minds out there, the sky may not be full of deliberate voices. It may be full of faint accidents, brief leaks, narrow beams, old signals, unrecognized patterns, whispers fading before they reach another shore. This is where the search becomes almost dreamlike in its difficulty. We are not only listening for a voice, we are listening for a voice that may not be aimed at us, that may not be strong enough, that may not last long, that may not use a form we expect, that may arrive after traveling through a galaxy that changes it, that may come from a civilization no longer speaking, that may pass by while we are looking somewhere else. A signal could cross Earth tonight and leave no mark on history, not because it was meaningless, but because we missed it, or because we did not know how to recognize it, or because it was too faint for the instruments we have built so far. There is a humility in that. We often speak of searching the sky, but the sky is enormous. The range of possible frequencies is enormous. The number of stars is enormous. The possible ways intelligence might communicate are enormous. Compared with all of that, our listening has been brief. A few decades of careful effort, a few instruments, a few regions, a few assumptions about what another mind might choose to send. It is remarkable that we have listened at all. But it is also important to admit how small our listening has been compared with the scale of the question. We have not searched the whole galaxy. We have not listened to every star. We have not watched every frequency. We have not monitored the sky continuously for centuries. We have not built receivers for technologies we have not imagined. We are standing on one small planet with young instruments, trying to detect a whisper that may have crossed centuries of darkness. And still, we keep listening. That may be one of the most beautiful things about us. Not that we expect an easy answer, but that we listen anyway. We listen because the silence may not mean what it seems to mean. We listen because a faint signal, if found, would change the meaning of every star. We listen because even one confirmed whisper from another world would prove that the universe has made minds more than once. But the whisper has to survive. It has to stay bright enough, clear enough, strange enough, and patient enough to cross the dark and reach us. And most whispers do not. They fade, they spread, they become background, they turn into almost nothing. Somewhere, perhaps, a signal once left a living world. It crossed the night with all the hope of the civilization that sent it. It carried structure, meaning, intention. It was a small bridge thrown across the distance between stars. For a while, it was strong. Then it widened. Then it weakened. Then the galaxy touched it. Dust, plasma, magnetic fields, time and distance softened it. And after traveling for centuries, perhaps millennia, it was still moving, still real, still part of the universe. But no longer readable. A message without a listener. A voice without a shore. A whisper fading into the dark. This does not mean the universe is empty. It means the universe is difficult to cross. It means that silence may be made not from absence, but from loss. Signals lost to distance, messages lost to timing, voices lost beneath the natural noise of stars. And as we drift deeper into this thought, another layer of the silence begins to appear. Because even if a signal could remain strong, even if it could cross the dark without fading, even if it arrived clearly at another world, there is still the question of when. Who is there to receive it? Is the listening world ready? Has it invented radio? Has it built telescopes? Has it learned to separate signal from noise? Or is it still young, still ocean, still stone, still cloud and lightning, with no mind yet awake beneath its sky? A message can miss a civilization not only by distance, it can miss it by time. And that may be the next great wall between us and anyone else. Not that the stars are empty, not that signals never travel, but that civilizations may rise and fall like brief lights in a galaxy billions of years old, and their voices may pass through the dark when no one is there to hear. That is where we will go next. Into the deep problem of timing, into the possibility that the universe may be filled with worlds that never meet, not because they are too far apart in space, but because they awaken in different ages of the night. A signal can cross space and still arrive too late, or too early. That may be one of the quietest tragedies in the universe. When we imagine the search for another civilization, we often picture distance as the main problem. Stars are far apart. Galaxies are farther. Light needs years, centuries, or millions of years to move from one place to another. But distance is only half of the silence. The other half is time. Because two civilizations do not only have to exist somewhere in the same galaxy, they have to exist during the same window. They have to be awake at the same time. They have to build instruments at the same time. They have to speak and listen in overlapping chapters of cosmic history. And the universe is very old. Older than the human mind can easily hold. The Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. Life, in some form, has been here for most of that time. But technological civilization, the kind capable of sending and receiving signals across space, is almost unimaginably recent. For billions of years, Earth was alive but silent. Oceans moved under the moon. Volcanoes reshaped continents. Microbes lived, multiplied, changed the atmosphere, and transformed the planet slowly, patiently, invisibly. For ages, there were no eyes looking up. Then there were eyes, but no telescopes. Then there were minds, but no radio. Then there were civilizations, but no way to hear another star. Only in the last tiny sliver of Earth's history did our planet become a world that could listen. If a message from another civilization passed Earth 100 million years ago, no one here would have known. The signal might have moved through the atmosphere, crossed the oceans, brushed the land, and continued outward into the dark. Dinosaurs may have walked beneath it. Forests may have swayed below it. Volcanoes may have smoked on the horizon. But there were no radio telescopes, no computers, no one asking whether the signal had meaning. From the point of view of the civilization that sent it, the message reached Earth. From the point of view of Earth, nothing happened. The planet was not ready. This is the timing problem. A universe can contain many civilizations and still keep them from meeting simply by placing them in different eras. One world may awaken too soon, another too late. One may send its first signal while another is still covered in young oceans. One may listen for centuries after the other has already gone quiet. One may build its greatest observatories 1,000,000 years before its nearest neighbor discovers fire. And from inside each world, the sky remains silent. Not because no one else ever existed, but because existence is not enough. Existence must overlap. Imagine the Milky Way as a vast, dark room. Across that room, tiny candles are lit. Each candle is a technological civilization, not life itself, not simple organisms, not forests or oceans or animals. But the brief, delicate stage when a species can build machines, send signals, look beyond its own world, and understand that the stars are suns. One candle appears near the edge of the room. It burns for a while. Then it goes out. Much later, another candle appears far away. Then another. Then another. Some burn for only a short time. Some burn longer. Some flare brightly. Some remain quiet. but the room is enormous and the candles do not all burn together. If you stand beside one candle and look around during the short time it is lit, you may see only darkness. The room may have held many lights before you. It may hold many after you, but in your moment, from your place, you see none. This may be what a galaxy is like from the inside. Not a permanently empty room, but a room where lights appear and disappear across deep time, rarely close enough and rarely synchronized enough to see each other. The difficult part is that the universe does not schedule intelligence. Stars form at different times. Planets cool at different rates. Atmospheres change through accidents, chemistry, impacts, volcanoes, oceans, and life. Evolution does not move toward technology on a clock. It wanders, it experiments, it loses paths, it finds new ones. A world may develop life quickly, but intelligence slowly. Another may have stable oceans for billions of years and never produce tool-building minds. Another may develop intelligent creatures that never need technology, never build transmitters, never leave any signal that could cross the stars. Another may build radio dishes for only a brief age before moving to quieter methods. Another may destroy its own ability to listen. Another may become so advanced that it no longer communicates in any way we understand. From far away, all of these worlds may look the same. Quiet. And even if two civilizations both develop technology, their technological windows may be short compared with the age of the galaxy. Think about our own window. For most of human history, we could not detect a signal from another star. For most of human history, we did not even know that other stars might have planets. We have been able to listen seriously for only a short time. A small human lifetime. A blink against the age of Earth. Almost nothing against the age of the Milky Way. Now imagine that another civilization had its radio age 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years sounds long to us. It reaches back before many of the oldest known cities, before written history in most places, before the world we recognize. But to the galaxy, 10,000 years is almost nothing. A moment, a spark. If that civilization transmitted for 1,000 years and then went silent, their window may have opened and closed before we were able to hear them. Their signals may still be traveling. Some may have passed us before we had the right instruments. Some may not reach us for another 1,000 years. Some may be too weak to detect by the time they arrive. The civilization itself may be gone, changed, hidden, or transformed. And from our point of view, there is only silence. Now stretch the thought further. What if a civilization appeared 1 million years ago? 1 million years is a vast span in human terms, but not in galactic terms. A species could rise, build cities, explore nearby worlds, send messages, and vanish completely within 1 million years. On Earth, 1 million years ago, there were ancestors of humans, but no civilization, no radio, no written language, no observatories listening for interstellar messages. If a bright signal crossed our solar system then, Earth would have received it only as sunlight receives rain. Unaware, unready, alive but not listening. The signal would have continued beyond us. A true message. A real sign, completely missed. This possibility makes the silence feel different. The sky above us might be quiet today, but it does not tell us what passed through the sky before we could listen. It does not tell us what signals crossed Earth when the planet was young. It does not tell us what messages washed over ancient oceans before there were ears, eyes, or minds. It does not tell us what evidence is still on its way. The universe may be filled with arrivals that never align with receivers. A message has to meet a listener, and listeners are temporary. That word matters. Temporary. Civilizations may feel permanent to the people living inside them. Cities feel solid. Languages feel old. Traditions feel rooted. Our technologies feel powerful, as if they have changed the world forever. But on cosmic timescales, even a civilization that lasts 10,000 years is brief. Even a civilization that lasts 1,000,000 years is young compared with stars. A star may burn for billions of years. A galaxy may turn slowly for ages. But the window during which a planet produces a detectable technological society may be short. No one knows how short. Maybe some civilizations survive for millions of years. Maybe some learn to live quietly with their worlds, explore gently, and continue listening across deep time. Maybe others burn brightly and disappear quickly. Maybe the average technological age is not long at all. We do not know, because we have only one example: ourselves. And we do not yet know how long our own window will remain open. This uncertainty is part of the silence. If technological civilizations usually last only a few centuries in a detectable form, then even a galaxy rich with life could feel empty. Picture a galaxy that produces many civilizations over billions of years. Not one, not two, many. But each one is detectable only briefly, a few hundred years, a few thousand, perhaps less. Their signals spread outward, fade, pass between stars, and continue into the dark. Their neighbors, if they exist, are usually too far away, too young, too old, or not listening at the right time. The galaxy may have life written throughout its history, but not many voices speaking at once. It would be like trying to hear a single note played once in a vast cathedral while standing in another room years later. The note was real. The music existed. But you were not there when it sounded. This is why the question, "Where is everybody?" may be more difficult than it first appears. Everybody may not mean now. Everybody may be spread across time. Some behind us, some ahead of us. Some so far removed from our moment that they are not neighbors in any meaningful sense, even if they share the same galaxy. Time can make strangers of worlds that space alone might have allowed to meet. There may have been civilizations in the Milky Way before Earth had complex life. There may be civilizations that will rise long after humanity is gone. There may be worlds just now beginning their microbial age, where intelligence will not appear for another 3 billion years. There may be planets forming today from dust around young stars, worlds that will one day have skies, seas, and questions. But not until our sun is old. If we could see the entire history of the galaxy at once, perhaps it would look alive. But we cannot. We live in one moment. We look outward from one century. We listen with instruments built by one young species during one narrow chapter of one planet's story. That is a very small opening through which to search for the rest of time. Imagine standing beside a river at night. The water is dark and objects float past. A leaf, a branch, a small boat. A message sealed in glass. But your lantern is only lit for a few seconds. During those few seconds, you see what happens to be passing in front of you. You cannot know what passed before the light was lit. You cannot know what will pass after it goes out. You can only describe the river during your brief illumination. Humanity's listening age may be like that lantern. A small light beside the river of cosmic time. We look up, and during our brief moment of attention, we say the river appears empty. But the river is old, and it keeps moving. This does not mean we should dismiss the silence. The silence matters. It tells us that we are not currently surrounded by obvious, powerful, continuous signals from nearby civilizations. It tells us that no one close enough, loud enough, and clear enough has revealed themselves in the ways we know how to detect. That is real. But it does not tell us that no one has ever existed. It does not tell us that no one exists elsewhere. It does not tell us that no one will exist later. It tells us only what has reached us, here and now. And here and now are small. The more we think about time, the more the universe begins to feel like a place of missed encounters. A civilization sends a message across 500 light years. It arrives at a world that is still young. No one hears it. Another civilization listens for 1,000 years. The nearest signal that could reach them will not arrive for another 10,000. They hear nothing. Another world develops life, but never technology. Another develops technology, but never broadcasts. Another broadcasts, but only after its nearest neighbor has gone quiet. All of them are real. All of them are separated. All of them, from their own skies, may feel alone. This is not the loneliness of emptiness. It is the loneliness of bad timing. And bad timing may be built into the structure of the cosmos. Not intentionally. Not cruelly. Simply because stars, planets, life, and intelligence all unfold on different clocks. A red dwarf star may last for hundreds of billions of years. A massive blue star may die after only a few million. A rocky planet may take 500 million years just to cool enough for stable oceans. Life may take billions more to become complex. Intelligence may appear late, if it appears at all. Technology may last a moment or an age. Each world carries its own clock. And those clocks are not synchronized. There is no galactic hour when civilizations are called to awaken together. No shared morning. No appointed season for intelligence. Each planet turns through its own dark and light. Each biosphere follows its own slow path. Each mind, if it arises, opens its eyes into a universe already ancient, already filled with histories it cannot reach. That thought can feel lonely, but it can also feel strangely beautiful. Because it means that every civilization, if there are others, is a rare timing event. A flame lit in the long night, a brief arrangement of matter able to know the stars are there, a small window in which the universe becomes aware of itself from one more place. Maybe that is what we are. Not the center, not the final answer, but one lit window in a galaxy of dark houses, some long abandoned, some not yet built, some glowing too far away for us to see. And perhaps somewhere, on another world, another window is open right now. Not close, not easy to find. Maybe not speaking in any way we can detect, but open. A mind awake beneath another sky. If so, we may still never meet. Their night and our night may not overlap in the right way. Their signals may not reach us before we are gone. Our signals may pass them before they are ready. The tragedy is not that we are different. The tragedy is that the universe is large enough and old enough for two searching minds to miss each other completely. Still, there is tenderness in the search. Because when we listen, we are reaching beyond our own moment. We are saying that if a voice from the past is still traveling, we are willing to receive it. If a distant world is speaking now, we are willing to wait. If an answer takes centuries, then perhaps someone after us will hear it. The search for life is not only for us. It is an act extended into time. We build instruments that may hear what previous generations could not. We collect data that future generations may understand better than we do. We send signals that no one alive today will ever see answered. There is something deeply human in that. To plant a question in the dark, knowing the answer may belong to someone else. To listen for voices from civilizations that may no longer exist. To keep watch beneath a sky that has been silent for all of recorded history, and still believe that silence is not the same as emptiness. This is why time is such a powerful wall. It does not block us like a door. It separates us like sleep. One civilization wakes while another dreams. One calls while another has not yet been born. One listens while another is already memory. And across the galaxy, the light continues traveling. Old messages, late greetings, ancient flashes, faint traces. Some moving toward worlds that will never hear them. Some moving toward worlds not ready yet. Some moving toward empty space. Some, maybe, moving toward us. If a message from another civilization is on its way tonight, it is already somewhere between stars. It may have been traveling for years, or centuries, or longer than human civilization has existed. It may pass through clouds of gas. It may weaken. It may bend through the noise. It may approach the outer edge of our solar system while Earth turns quietly under the moon. And if it arrives one day, it will not only be a message from another place, it will be a message from another time. That may be all contact can ever be. Not two civilizations speaking face to face, but one age touching another through light. One island of awareness leaving a trace for another to find. A voice crossing the dark after the speaker has changed, aged, vanished, or moved beyond recognition. And perhaps that is enough to make the silence worth listening to. Because silence today does not erase the possibility of voices yesterday or tomorrow. It only tells us that in this moment, under this sky, the dark has not yet answered. So let the thought settle gently. The universe may be full of lives that do not share the same now, full of worlds that bloom in different seasons, full of signals arriving before there are ears, full of answers coming after the questioner has gone, full of candles lit across a room too large, too old, and too unsynchronized for any one flame to see all the others. And as we drift onward, the silence grows wider still. Because beyond the problem of timing, beyond fading signals, beyond the slow speed of light, there is another boundary. A boundary not made by our weakness, not made by our technology, not made by the limits of human patience. A boundary built into the universe itself. There are places so far away that their light has not reached us. And there are places so far away that their light never will. No telescope can solve that. No antenna can listen past it. No message can cross it. Somewhere beyond the edge of what we can ever know, there may be stars, worlds, oceans, and minds forever outside our sky. Not hidden, not silent by choice, simply unreachable. And that is where we go next. To the horizon, no telescope can cross. There are some distances that can be crossed with patience. A message can take years to reach the nearest stars, centuries to cross a small corner of the galaxy, thousands of years to reach a civilization on the far side of a spiral arm. That is difficult. That is slow. But it is still possible in principle. If the sender is patient enough and the listener is there at the right time, light can carry a message across those distances. It may arrive late. It may arrive weak. It may arrive after the world that sent it has changed beyond recognition. But it can still arrive. There are other distances that are different, not harder, not slower, different. There are places in the universe so far away that no message from them has reached us yet. And there are places so far away that no message from them will ever reach us at all. Not because our telescopes are too small, not because our science is unfinished, not because we have failed to build the right machine, but because the universe has a horizon, a real boundary around what can ever be known from here. It is not a wall you could touch. It is not a glowing edge in space. If you traveled toward it, it would not look like a curtain or a border or the end of everything. The universe would continue around you. Stars would still exist. Galaxies would still drift in the dark. There would be no sign saying that knowledge ends here. And yet, from Earth, there is a limit to what light has had time to show us, a limit to what information can reach us, a limit drawn not by imagination, but by time, distance, and the expansion of space itself. This is one of the strangest ideas in astronomy. The observable universe is not the whole universe. It is only the part of the universe whose light has had time to arrive. When we look out with telescopes, we are not seeing everything that exists. We are seeing everything that has been able to send us a signal since the beginning of cosmic history. Beyond that visible region may be far more universe, more galaxies, more stars, more worlds, perhaps more life, perhaps more minds. But if their light has never reached us, they are not part of our sky. They exist, perhaps, but not for us in any practical sense, not yet. And in some cases, not ever. To understand why, imagine standing in the center of a dark field at night, holding a small lantern. The lantern lights a circle around you. Inside that circle, you can see the grass, the stones, the shapes of trees, the mist near the ground. Beyond the circle, the field continues. You may know it continues. You may even be certain there is more beyond the light. But you cannot see it from where you stand. Now imagine that the field is growing while your light travels. The ground itself is stretching. The distant trees are being carried away. Your lantern light moves outward, but the space it must cross is expanding too. Some places remain reachable. Some drift farther away. Some are carried beyond the distance where your light can ever catch up. That is a little like our universe. Light travels. But space also expands. And on the largest scales, the expansion of space changes the meaning of distance. Galaxies are not simply moving through space like ships sailing across a sea. The space between galaxies is stretching. The fabric of the cosmos itself is growing, carrying distant galaxies farther and farther from us. For nearby galaxies, gravity can hold things together. The Milky Way, Andromeda, and the smaller galaxies around them are bound in a local family. They are close enough that their mutual gravity matters more than cosmic expansion. But far beyond our local group, the expansion of the universe becomes dominant. The farther a galaxy is from us, the faster the space between us and that galaxy grows. And beyond a certain distance, space grows so quickly that light traveling toward us can never make progress fast enough to arrive. The light is moving at the fastest speed nature allows. But the distance it must cross is increasing faster than it can overcome. This does not break the rule that nothing moves through space faster than light. The galaxy is not racing through space like a rocket. Space itself is expanding. And that expansion can separate regions of the universe forever. This is why the horizon matters. Somewhere beyond the faintest galaxies we can ever observe, there may be worlds with skies as rich as ours. There may be stars with planets. There may be oceans under alien moons. There may be civilizations that have risen, listened, wondered, built towers and telescopes, and asked their own quiet version of the question, is anyone else there? But if they are beyond our cosmic horizon, their question can never reach us. And ours can never reach them. No signal, no probe, no beam of light, no message placed into the dark. Nothing that begins here can cross into their future. Nothing that begins there can enter ours. They are not merely far away, they are disconnected from us. That word is soft, but it holds a great darkness. Disconnected, not lost, not hidden, not waiting, simply outside the chain of cause and effect that could ever link their world with ours. A civilization beyond that horizon could build the brightest beacon imaginable. It could surround its star with mirrors. It could send signals in every direction for 1 billion years. It could fill its sky with light meant for anyone who might be listening. And from Earth, we would never know. The signal would move. The beacon would shine. The intention would be real. But the expanding universe would keep the message from crossing the growing distance between us. The universe allows two places to exist in the same reality and still remain forever unable to affect each other. That is hard to sit with. Because when we think about the search for life, we usually imagine the problem as one of discovery. We need better telescopes, better antennas, better computers, more patience, more funding, more time. And all of those things are true for the parts of the universe we can reach with observation. But the cosmic horizon is not a challenge waiting for better equipment. It is a boundary in the structure of the universe. A telescope can gather light that arrives. It cannot gather light that never will. An antenna can detect a signal that crosses Earth. It cannot detect a signal permanently trapped beyond the reach of our sky. No matter how advanced a civilization becomes, it cannot learn what the universe will never allow to enter its view. This means every civilization, wherever it arises, lives inside its own observable bubble, its own island of knowable space. From that world, the universe has one horizon. From another world, far away, it has a different horizon. Each observer stands at the center of their own visible universe, not because they are special, but because light reaches each place differently. Every world has its own cosmic room. Every civilization has its own ceiling of knowledge. There may be regions visible to them that we will never see. There may be regions visible to us that they will never see. The universe is not one shared picture. It is a collection of overlapping views, and some views do not overlap at all. This idea changes the silence again. The night sky above Earth is not only quiet because signals are weak or old or delayed. It is quiet because some possible voices are outside the reach of our universe entirely, not outside existence, outside contact, outside evidence, outside arrival. There may be civilizations so far away that they are not part of our story, and we are not part of theirs. The same laws may govern both places. The same physics may shape their stars. The same chemistry may build their worlds. The same wonder may rise beneath their skies. And still, no bridge can form between us. The universe may be larger than the universe we can ever know. Maybe infinitely larger, maybe not. We do not know. And that uncertainty is itself part of the horizon. We can study the light that reaches us. We can measure the ancient background glow left from the early universe. We can map galaxies as far as our instruments allow. We can infer, model, calculate, and imagine. But beyond what can ever send information to us, knowledge becomes different. It becomes not observation, but possibility. A darkness not because nothing is there, but because no light can come. There is something strangely peaceful about this, if you let the thought soften. The horizon is not violent. It does not tear worlds apart in any dramatic instant. It does not announce itself. It simply exists as a quiet limit to knowing, like the edge of a dream you cannot remember, like the far side of an ocean under fog, like a song playing in another room with no door between. The universe does not tell us what lies beyond. It does not need to. It simply lets the expansion carry those regions away. And as time passes, the situation becomes even more severe. The universe is not only expanding, its expansion is accelerating. The distant galaxies we see today are not all equally available to the future. Many of them are already sending us light from their ancient past. We can see them because their old light began traveling when the universe was smaller, when the distances between regions were different. But as space continues to stretch, more and more galaxies will slip beyond the horizon of possible contact. Their light from long ago may still be visible for a time, but their current and future light will never arrive. A civilization living far in the future of the universe may look out and see a much emptier sky. Galaxies beyond the local gravitational group may have faded from view. The evidence of the wider cosmos may become harder to find. The night may grow darker, not because stars near them vanish immediately, but because the distant universe has been carried away beyond all possible observation. Imagine living in that far future, a world under a quiet star. A civilization with instruments more sensitive than ours. A patient people looking outward, asking what the universe contains. But beyond their local group, there is almost nothing visible. The great background of galaxies that we see today has dimmed, reddened, and disappeared. The universe, from their point of view, may look smaller than it really is. They may not know that there were once trillions of galaxies visible across the dark. They may not know that the cosmos once revealed more of itself. They may build theories from a sky that has already lost most of its evidence. In that sense, we live during a fortunate window. The universe is old enough for stars, planets, chemistry, and life, but young enough that much of the deep sky is still visible. We can still see galaxies beyond our own. We can still measure the expansion. We can still detect the ancient glow from the early universe. We can still understand that we live inside something vast. But even this fortunate window does not make contact easy. It only lets us know how difficult contact is. It lets us see enough of the universe to understand how much of it is unreachable. That may be one of the most humbling gifts astronomy gives us. Not certainty, perspective. We learn that Earth is not the center of the solar system, then that the Sun is not the center of the galaxy, then that the Milky Way is one galaxy among many, then that the visible universe itself may be only a small part of a larger whole. And finally, that even if the larger whole is rich with life, some of it may forever remain outside the reach of any message we can send. The more we discover, the more the silence gains depth. It is not a simple silence. It is a silence with layers. Nearby silence, where no clear signal has arrived yet. Galactic silence, where distance and timing make contact rare. Intergalactic silence, where millions of years turn conversation into ancient history. And horizon silence, where no contact is possible at all. Each layer changes what we mean when we ask whether we are alone, because alone can mean many things. Alone in existence, alone in our galaxy, alone in our time, alone within reach. Alone within what can ever be known. Those are not the same. A universe full of unreachable civilizations would still feel silent from here. A universe where life is common beyond the horizon would give us no comfort, no evidence, no answer. It would be real, perhaps, but not available. Not to our telescopes, not to our descendants, not to any signal Earth could ever send. That is why the horizon is not just a scientific idea. It is an emotional one. It tells us there may be limits not only to travel, but to relationship. Limits to shared reality. Limits to who can ever become part of whose sky. Somewhere beyond the boundary of possible contact, there may be a planet where the night is full of unfamiliar constellations. Maybe its people name those stars. Maybe they build stories around them. Maybe they imagine other minds. Maybe they search. Maybe they listen. Maybe they come to the same conclusion we do. That the universe is beautiful, enormous, and strangely quiet. They may wonder if anyone else is out there. And we may be one of the answers they will never receive. That thought is almost too large to feel all at once. So let it come gently. There may be minds that are not hidden from us by choice. Not avoiding us, not too primitive, not too advanced, not destroyed, not silent, only unreachable. The universe can create separation without conflict. It can make strangers of worlds that would have wanted to know each other. It can place two civilizations under the same cosmic laws and still keep every photon between them from ever completing the journey. And yet, there is beauty even here. Because the horizon does not erase meaning inside it, we may not be able to know everything. But we can know something. We can know the stars whose light reaches us. We can know the galaxies whose ancient images arrive in our telescopes. We can know that the universe has a history, that it began hot and dense, expanded, cooled, formed atoms, stars, galaxies, planets, and at least once, life able to wonder about its own place in the dark. We can know that our visible universe is full of structure. We can know that the silence we hear is not simple proof of emptiness. It is shaped by physics, by expansion, by time, by the speed of information, by the boundary of arrival. The horizon does not answer the question, but it teaches us how careful we must be when asking it. If no one answers, it may not mean no one exists. It may mean the answer began too far away. It may mean the message is still traveling. It may mean the message can never arrive. So tonight, imagine the observable universe as a vast sphere of ancient light around Earth. Not a solid sphere, not a bubble floating in darkness, but a region of knowable history, every direction filled with old messages. Stars, galaxies, gas clouds, background radiation, all arriving from different depths of time. And beyond that sphere, not necessarily emptiness, only silence that cannot be broken from here. The horizon no telescope can cross, the edge of our cosmic hearing. The place where questions continue, but answers cannot return. For a little while, rest with that thought. Earth turns quietly beneath its thin atmosphere. The Milky Way arches overhead. Beyond it, galaxies drift in the dark. Beyond them, more galaxies recede. Beyond what we can see, the unknown continues, perhaps forever. And somewhere in that unknown, there may be stars whose light will never touch our sky. There may be worlds whose histories will never enter our instruments. There may be voices that could speak forever and still never become part of our night. This is not failure. It is scale. It is the shape of a universe larger than contact. And as we drift back from that far horizon, we return to our own galaxy, to the stars that are at least close enough to share our sky in principle. But even here, inside the Milky Way, the path is not clean. The space between stars is not perfectly empty. The galaxy is filled with dust, gas, plasma, magnetic fields, and hidden structures. Even light that can reach us may be bent, weakened, scattered, reddened, or buried. The next silence is closer, not beyond the edge of the observable universe, but right here, between the stars of our own galaxy. Because the Milky Way is not a clear window. It is a living, dusty, glowing, turbulent place. And if a signal is trying to cross it, the journey may be far messier than we imagine. From far away, the Milky Way looks gentle. A pale spiral turning slowly in the dark. A wide disk of stars, dust, gas, and soft blue light, with curved arms stretching outward from a glowing center. In pictures, it can look almost peaceful, like a luminous flower floating in space. But a galaxy is not a clean, empty room filled with stars. It is not a clear glass dome where light and signals pass freely from one side to the other. It is a complicated place, a living structure, a vast, rotating weather system made of gravity, dust, radiation, magnetism, gas clouds, stellar winds, old explosions, newborn stars, dying stars, black holes, and invisible currents moving through the dark. And if a message from another civilization is trying to cross it, that message does not travel through perfect emptiness. It travels through the galaxy. That difference matters. When we picture space, we often imagine a black void. Empty, silent, clean. A place where a signal can move forever without touching anything. And compared with Earth, interstellar space is almost unimaginably empty. There is no air, no clouds like the ones above our oceans, no weather in the ordinary sense. If you could hold a box of interstellar space in your hands, it would seem like nothing at all. But over cosmic distances, almost nothing becomes something. A single grain of dust is small. A single atom in a cubic centimeter of space is almost nothing. A faint magnetic field is easy to ignore. But stretch that across light years, then hundreds of light years, then thousands, then tens of thousands. And the emptiness begins to have texture. The galaxy becomes less like a vacuum and more like a thin, ancient fog. A fog so delicate you would never feel it, but thick enough, over great distance, to change what passes through it. Between the stars are clouds of hydrogen, regions of ionized gas, dust grains made from elements forged in earlier generations of stars. Cold molecular clouds where new stars may one day form, hot bubbles carved by supernova explosions, charged particles moving along magnetic fields, and all of it creates a medium through which light, radio waves, and other signals must travel. Some wavelengths pass more easily. Some are scattered. Some are absorbed. Some are delayed. Some are stretched. Some are blurred until their original shape becomes harder to read. The Milky Way does not simply hold the stars. It filters them. It hides some things and reveals others. It lets certain kinds of light travel through, while blocking or weakening others. This is why the center of our own galaxy was hidden from human eyes for so long. When you look toward the bright heart of the Milky Way in visible light, you are not seeing clearly all the way in. Long lanes of dust stand between us and the galactic center. They absorb and scatter visible light, making huge regions look dark, even though stars are shining behind them. The center is there, bright, crowded, powerful. But in ordinary light, much of it is veiled. Only when astronomers learned to look in other wavelengths, radio, infrared, X-rays, did the inner galaxy begin to reveal itself more fully. That is a quiet lesson. The universe can be present and still hidden. Not because it is trying to hide, but because the path between there and here is filled with matter that changes the message. If stars can be hidden by dust, then signals can be shaped by the medium they cross. A radio pulse from a distant source may not arrive as it began. Charged particles between the stars can slow different radio frequencies by slightly different amounts. A sharp pulse can spread out. A clean burst can become smeared across time. A signal that once had crisp edges can arrive softer, wider, harder to identify. Astronomers see this all the time when they study natural radio sources. The galaxy leaves fingerprints on light. It tells us, through distortion, what the signal has crossed. That same reality applies to any artificial message. A civilization may send something carefully designed. A narrow pulse, a repeated pattern, a mathematical rhythm. A signal meant to stand apart from the natural sky. But if that signal crosses thousands of light years of interstellar material, it may not arrive in its original form. It may be delayed, spread, weakened, scattered, or shifted into a shape that no longer looks obvious to the receiver. The message may still be there. But recognition becomes harder, and recognition is everything. A signal that cannot be recognized as a signal is, from our point of view, only noise. This is another reason the silence of the galaxy is so difficult to interpret. We are not sitting in a perfect listening chamber. We are listening from inside the galaxy itself. Inside the dust, inside the gas, inside the magnetic fields, inside the radio noise of our own sun, our own planet, our own technology, and the many natural objects around us. A message from far away must not only be sent, it must rise above all of that. It must survive the path. It must reach Earth with enough structure left to be noticed, and then our instruments must be ready, pointed in the right direction, tuned to the right frequency, sensitive enough to separate it from the background. This makes the search feel less like hearing someone shout across a quiet room, and more like trying to hear a distant bell through mountains, wind, fog, and thunder. The bell may be ringing, but the landscape changes the sound. and the farther away the bell is, the more the landscape matters. The Milky Way is full of such landscapes. Some regions are calm, some are crowded, some are violent. Near the galactic center, stars are packed more closely together. Radiation is stronger. Massive stars are born and die quickly. Supernovae are more common. The environment is bright, energetic, and unstable. Farther out, in the quiet suburbs of the galaxy, there may be less danger, but also fewer heavy elements in some regions. Fewer ingredients for rocky planets. Fewer rich environments where complex chemistry can easily begin. Our sun sits in a relatively calm part of the galaxy, not too close to the center. Not too far from the places where earlier stars enriched the galaxy with the elements needed to make planets, oceans, and bodies. It is a good address, as far as we can tell. But even from this good address, the galaxy is not open in every direction. Some lines of sight are clearer than others. Some are crowded with dust. Some pass through star-forming regions. Some pass across long stretches of thin gas. Some point above or below the disk, into quieter regions of space. When we listen for another civilization, direction matters. Frequency matters. Timing matters. The galaxy itself matters. And this means our silence may be local, or partial, or shaped by the paths we have searched. We may be listening through clear windows in some directions and dusty curtains in others. We may be watching parts of the sky where no one is broadcasting, while missing places where a signal is too faint, too brief, or too altered to stand out. This does not mean there is a hidden civilization behind every dust cloud. It does not mean the answer is waiting just beyond the next frequency. But it does mean that the silence is not as simple as standing in an empty field and hearing nothing. The field has hills, forests, wind, fog, echoes. And we have only listened from one small spot. There is also the problem of our own assumptions. We tend to search for signals that make sense to us. Signals that are narrow. Signals that repeat. Signals that show mathematical structure. Signals that stand apart from natural processes. That is reasonable. We have to begin somewhere. We cannot search for everything at once. But another civilization may not choose the kinds of signals we expect. It may use frequencies we have barely monitored. It may send short bursts instead of continuous beacons. It may communicate with tight beams aimed only at known targets. It may use optical flashes, or something beyond our current technology. Or it may not be trying to communicate at all. It may simply exist quietly, leaving only subtle traces that are difficult to separate from natural astronomy. In that case, the galaxy's dusty, noisy, layered nature becomes an even greater problem. A strong beacon might survive the journey. A faint signature might not. A civilization using enormous amounts of energy might alter its star or planet in a way we could eventually detect. But a careful, efficient civilization might blend almost perfectly into the natural sky. It might be there. It might be old. It might be wise. And from far away, it might look like nothing more than another ordinary star with ordinary planets. This is a humbling possibility. Not every advanced world has to be loud. Not every intelligence has to rearrange its solar system. Not every civilization has to announce itself. Some may be quiet by choice, some by design. Some because survival rewards silence. Some because their technology becomes cleaner, smaller, and harder to see. Some because they communicate in ways that do not leak into space. The galaxy could contain many kinds of intelligence and still not produce the kind of signal we are prepared to find. And even if it does produce that signal, the Milky Way may blur it before it reaches us. So again, the silence changes shape. It is not simply the absence of voices. It may be the result of distance, time, weakness, timing, horizons, and now the physical structure of the galaxy itself. A soft wall of dust, a thin ocean of plasma, a maze of magnetic fields, a glowing disk that hides as much as it reveals. The Milky Way is our home, but it is also the first great barrier we must listen through. And maybe every civilization faces the same problem. Imagine another world, thousands of light years away, with instruments turned toward the stars. They may be listening too. Their astronomers may have mapped their own sky. They may know their galaxy is filled with dust and gas. They may understand that signals fade. They may have searched nearby stars and found nothing clear. From their world, Earth is not special. It is one faint planet around one ordinary star, hidden among billions of others. Our signals, if any reach them, may be too weak. Our planet may look natural. Our technology may leave no obvious mark from that distance. They may wonder whether the galaxy is empty. And we, here, wonder the same thing. Two worlds inside the same spiral of stars, each listening through its own fog, each surrounded by partial views, each mistaking difficulty for absence. Perhaps this is one of the quiet patterns of the universe. Not complete emptiness, but incomplete visibility. Every world sees a version of the galaxy. Every world listens through its own local noise. Every world builds instruments based on what its own science understands. And every world may underestimate how much remains hidden, not beyond the universe, but right inside the home galaxy it thinks it knows. That is why we have to be careful with silence. Silence is data. But it is not simple data. It tells us what has reached us clearly enough to be noticed. It does not tell us everything that exists. It does not tell us everything that was sent. It does not tell us everything that was lost, scattered, absorbed, mistimed, misread, or buried below the noise. The Milky Way may not be a quiet room. It may be a room full of curtains. And from where we stand, we have only opened a few. For now, let the image settle, our galaxy turning slowly in the dark, spiral arms glowing with star birth. Dust lanes crossing the light like rivers of shadow. Old stars drifting, young stars burning blue, clouds of hydrogen stretching across light years. Magnetic fields threading the spaces between suns. Signals perhaps moving through it all. Some natural, some artificial, some strong, some faint, some already lost, some not yet arrived. We are somewhere inside that great turning disk, listening from one small world. And the galaxy between us and anyone else is not transparent. It is beautiful. It is luminous. It is full of stars. But it is not clear. And as we drift out of this dusty spiral, another possibility waits for us. A possibility quieter than all the others. Maybe the problem is not only that signals fade, not only that civilizations miss each other in time, not only that horizons divide the cosmos, not only that the galaxy blurs what passes through it. Maybe, even when civilizations are able to speak, they choose not to. Maybe the Milky Way is not empty. Maybe it is full of worlds doing exactly what we are doing. Listening, waiting, wondering if someone else will be the first to call. And if that is true, then the silence above us may not be the silence of absence. It may be the silence of a galaxy holding its breath. There is a kind of silence that does not come from emptiness. It comes from waiting. A room can be full of people and still be quiet if everyone is listening for someone else to speak first. No one moves. No one breathes too loudly. No one knows whether the silence means safety, danger, shyness, patience, or fear. Each person hears nothing. Each person wonders if they are alone. And because everyone is waiting, the room remains still. The galaxy may not be like that, but it could be. This is one of the strangest possibilities in the search for other civilizations. Maybe the Milky Way is not empty. Maybe it is not barren. Maybe it is not a dark desert with only one small blue planet asking questions. Maybe it contains many worlds where intelligence has risen from oceans, forests, ice, dust, or chemistry we would barely recognize. Maybe there are civilizations scattered through the spiral arms. Not close, not obvious, not loud, but real. And maybe many of them have reached the same quiet conclusion. Listening is easier than speaking. Listening is safer. Listening is cheaper. Listening does not announce your location. Listening allows you to learn without taking the first risk. So everyone listens, and almost no one calls. From the inside, that kind of galaxy would feel empty. Every civilization would point its instruments upward and hear only the natural sky. Stars, pulsars, gas clouds, radiation from old explosions. The steady background of a universe full of physics, but not full of clear voices. Each world might tell itself the same story. If anyone else were out there, surely they would have said something by now. And each world might be wrong in exactly the same way, because everyone else is thinking the same thing. This is the loneliness of a room full of listeners, not absence, not proof, a silence produced by hesitation. Imagine a civilization not so different from us, somewhere a few hundred light years away. They have mapped their own planets. They know the chemistry of their air. They have measured the age of their star. They understand that the lights in their night sky are other suns. They have discovered worlds circling some of them. They have asked, with growing seriousness, whether life could exist elsewhere. Eventually, they build instruments to listen. Large dishes in quiet deserts, receivers cooled to near absolute cold. Telescopes placed far from the noise of their own cities. Algorithms searching for patterns in the static. Night after night, year after year, they listen. At first, they are hopeful, then patient, then uncertain, then careful. They do not hear a confirmed signal. They hear a universe full of natural sound, but no unmistakable sign of another mind. So a debate begins. Should they send a message? Should they announce themselves? Should they build a beacon bright enough to reach across interstellar space? Some of them say yes. They say the silence must be broken. They say every civilization may be waiting for another to speak, and someone has to be first. Others say no. They say the galaxy is too unknown. They say sending a powerful signal into the dark is not a small act. They say a civilization should listen longer, learn more, understand the risks before it becomes visible. Others are not afraid. They are practical. They ask a colder question. Why spend enormous energy sending a message when there may be no one close enough to hear it? A signal strong enough to be detected across hundreds or thousands of light years is not free. It must be powered, maintained, directed, repeated. If it is sent in all directions, almost all of its energy goes nowhere useful. It spreads into empty space, missing stars, missing planets, missing receivers that may not exist. If it is aimed, the civilization has to choose a target. But which star? Which planet? Which faint point in the sky deserves the beam? And how long should they send it? A day? A year? A century? 1,000 years? Would a listener be watching at that exact time? At that exact frequency? With instruments sensitive enough to notice? A civilization careful with energy may decide that listening is the wiser choice. So they listen. They wait. Their sky stays quiet. Now imagine many civilizations reaching that same conclusion independently. Not because they share a rule. Not because they belong to some hidden galactic agreement. Not because they know about one another, but because the physics of the situation pushes them toward the same behavior. Sending is expensive. Receiving is cheaper. Broadcasting is uncertain. Listening is patient. A beacon requires commitment. A receiver requires hope. And if every civilization makes the rational decision to listen more than it speaks, the galaxy becomes quiet, even if it is inhabited. That thought is softer than the idea of an empty universe, but in some ways, more haunting. An empty universe is simple. A listening universe is not. A listening universe is full of almost contacts. Worlds under quiet skies, instruments turned upward, questions repeated in different languages, different minds, different forms of life, each one waiting for evidence that someone else has decided to speak. Each one becoming, without knowing it, part of the same silence. There may be no grand mystery in that, no conspiracy, no hidden war, no cosmic warning, just 1,000 careful civilizations, each one too reasonable to waste its strength shouting into the dark. The silence may be a side effect of intelligence. That is a strange possibility. We often imagine intelligence as something that reaches outward, something that builds towers, ships, transmitters, probes, and bright declarations of existence. But intelligence also learns caution. It learns cost. It learns risk. It learns that not every unknown should be rushed toward. It learns that some doors should be studied before they are opened. Perhaps the first instinct of a young civilization is to speak, to call out, to announce itself. But perhaps older civilizations grow quieter. Maybe they discover that the galaxy is not a neighborhood. It is a wilderness. Beautiful, immense, mostly unknown. And in a wilderness, not every living thing makes noise. Some listen, some hide, some conserve energy, some communicate only when they know who is nearby. Some are silent not because they are afraid, but because silence is efficient. Even on Earth, as our technology becomes more advanced, it does not necessarily become easier to detect from space. Early radio and television signals spread broadly. They leaked away from the planet because our systems were less focused, less contained, less careful. But modern communication increasingly moves through cables, satellites, tight beams, fiber optics, directed transmissions, and networks designed to deliver information where it is needed, not everywhere at once. A world can become more connected inside itself while becoming quieter to the stars. That is important. Progress does not always make a civilization louder. Sometimes it makes it cleaner, sharper, more precise, less wasteful, less visible. If that is true for us, it might be true elsewhere. The noisy phase of a civilization may be brief, a few generations, a few centuries, a thin, bright flare before the signal fades into efficiency. If another world is listening for civilizations like ours, it may have only a short window in which our accidental leakage is strong enough, broad enough, and messy enough to notice. After that, Earth may become harder to find, even while becoming more advanced. Not because we disappear, but because our voice becomes less careless. Now, turn the thought around. What if many civilizations have already passed through their loud phase? What if the galaxy once carried many scattered leaks of radio, radar, and early industrial noise, but most of them were weak, brief, and quickly replaced by quieter systems? From our point of view, we might be listening after the noisy age is ended. The stars may not be silent because no one is there. They may be silent because the easiest to detect stage of technology does not last very long. A young civilization shouts by accident. An older one whispers by design. And across light years, whispers vanish. There is another layer. Speaking into the galaxy may not only be expensive, it may feel dangerous. Human beings have imagined this for a long time. If you reveal your location, who hears you? What do they want? Are they curious, kind, indifferent, hungry, cautious, or completely impossible to understand? We do not know. And because we do not know, any deliberate announcement becomes more than science. It becomes a decision about survival, ethics, fear, hope, and responsibility. Who gets to decide for an entire planet? Who speaks for Earth? Who chooses whether our world should become brighter to unknown civilizations? Even among humans, there is no simple agreement. Some believe sending messages is beautiful and necessary. Some believe it is reckless. Some believe the risk is small because the distances are so vast. Some believe the risk is unknowable, and unknowable risks deserve caution. If one young civilization like ours can disagree so deeply, imagine how many different answers might arise across the galaxy. Some worlds may broadcast proudly. Some may remain quiet forever. Some may listen for centuries before deciding. Some may send only coded beacons. Some may send messages to nearby stars, but not broadly. Some may hide their technological signatures as much as possible. Some may not think in terms of contact at all. There may be no single galactic behavior, only many local choices, and most of those choices, when seen from far away, may look like silence. This makes the universe feel less empty, but more complicated, because silence may no longer be one thing. It may be made of many different decisions. Some signals fade. Some are never sent. Some are aimed elsewhere. Some are too weak. Some are too careful. Some are hidden inside technologies we do not know how to detect. Some come from worlds that are listening just as we are. A galaxy of intelligence could still fail to produce a galaxy of conversation. Conversation requires more than minds. It requires trust, energy, timing, attention, shared methods, a reason to speak, and a belief that someone might hear. Without those things, even a crowded galaxy could remain quiet. Imagine again the Milky Way from above, a wide spiral turning slowly in the dark. Now imagine tiny listening stations scattered through it, each one on a different world. Some are close to bright stars, some under red suns, some on moons warmed by tides, some on planets with thick atmospheres and dark oceans, some underground, some floating in the upper air of gas giants, some inside habitats built by civilizations that have left their birth worlds. Each listens. Each gathers data. Each searches for structure in the noise. Each builds theories about the silence. One world concludes life must be rare. Another concludes civilizations do not last. Another concludes everyone is too far away. Another suspects that advanced societies become quiet. Another fears there is something dangerous about being heard. Another simply waits, because waiting costs less than calling. And across the spiral arms, their listening overlaps without connection. No one hears anyone. Not because no one exists, but because every listener is turned outward, and almost every speaker is absent, faint, or aimed somewhere else. The galaxy becomes a choir in which every singer waits for the first note. This is not the only possible explanation, but it is one of the most human to understand. Because we know what it feels like to wait. We know what it feels like to hesitate before speaking into the unknown. We know what it feels like to wonder whether silence means rejection, danger, emptiness, or simply another person trying to find the courage to answer. On the scale of the galaxy, that feeling becomes cosmic. Worlds waiting for worlds. Civilizations pausing beneath stars, each one wanting evidence before it takes the risk of becoming evidence. There is also a deeper question hidden here. What would count as speaking? For us, a message might be a radio signal with a pattern, a narrow beam, a repeating pulse, a sequence of numbers. Something designed to stand apart from natural noise. But perhaps another civilization would not think of communication that way. Maybe they would not send words. Maybe they would send chemistry, or geometry, or light curves, or changes in the way their planet reflects starlight. Maybe they would build something meant to be noticed only by civilizations that have reached a certain level of understanding. Maybe they would leave quiet signs in the orbits of objects. or in the infrared glow around a star, or in the atmosphere of a planet reshaped by industry. Or maybe they would speak through channels we have not discovered. To us, silence may be partly a failure of imagination. We listen for the kinds of voices we know how to hear. That is not a mistake. It is where every search must begin. But the universe may contain forms of signaling so different from ours that they do not look like messages yet. A civilization could be speaking in a way that passes through Earth every day. And until we build the right kind of receiver, it remains part of the dark. This is not fantasy. It is humility. Every generation has discovered that the universe was communicating through things earlier generations did not know how to read. Radio waves from space were once unknown. X-rays from black holes were unknown. Gravitational waves passed through Earth for all of human history before we finally learned how to detect them. The universe did not begin speaking when we invented better instruments. We only learned new forms of listening. So perhaps the same is true of intelligence. Maybe the galaxy is not mute. Maybe our ears are young. Maybe we are standing beside a vast ocean with a shell pressed to our ear, hearing only a small part of the waves. Still, there is a difference between natural signals and intentional ones. The universe produces patterns on its own. Pulsars flash with remarkable precision. Molecules glow at specific wavelengths. Black holes create jets. Stars pulse, flare, dim, brighten, and die. Nature is not random in a simple way. It creates order. It creates rhythm. It creates signals that can look meaningful until we understand the process behind them. So even if something strange arrives, we must be careful. A real message must stand out not only from noise, but from the deep creativity of nature itself. This raises the bar. A civilization speaking across the galaxy must make itself clear enough to be distinguished from stars, gas, magnetism, and chance. And a civilization receiving that message must be wise enough not to mistake nature for intelligence, or intelligence for nature. Both errors are possible. We could hear a natural signal and imagine a mind behind it. Or we could receive a true signal and explain it away as something natural we do not yet understand. Recognition is delicate. And this delicacy adds to the silence. The universe may not only require someone to speak, it may require someone else to understand that speaking is happening. A signal without recognition is not contact. It is only energy passing through space. This is why the search feels so patient. We listen. We compare. We test. We doubt. We look again. We ask whether a signal repeats. We ask whether it could come from Earth. We ask whether it could be caused by a star, a satellite, a plasma effect, an instrument error, a reflection, a burst of natural radiation. The standard must be high. It has to be, because the claim would be enormous. Another civilization, another mind, another place where the universe became aware of itself. Such a discovery cannot rest on a single strange moment. It must survive doubt. And maybe that is why even possible hints fade back into uncertainty. A signal appears once. It never repeats. A pattern looks interesting. Then it becomes interference. A strange observation raises hope. Then a natural explanation appears. Again and again, the silence returns. Not because we want it to, but because extraordinary evidence must be stronger than hope. And yet, hope remains. Quietly, not loud, not childish, not certain, just present. Because the silence still has too many possible meanings. It could mean emptiness. It could mean distance. It could mean timing. It could mean weak signals. It could mean horizons. It could mean dust. It could mean caution. It could mean that everyone is listening. it could mean that we are listening in the wrong way. And because it could mean so many things, it cannot yet be treated as a final answer. It is a condition, a landscape, a dark room in which we are still learning how to hear. Perhaps one day, the silence will break. Not with a dramatic announcement, not with a voice speaking English from the stars, not with anything simple. Maybe it will begin as a pattern too persistent to ignore. A chemical imbalance on a distant planet, a repeated pulse from a quiet star system, a narrow line of energy where nature should not place one. A flicker in infrared light suggesting heat from something built. A small, impossible regularity in the data. At first, it may not feel like contact. It may feel like confusion. Then caution. Then years of checking. Then a slow change in what humanity understands itself to be. A whisper finally recognized. Until then, we remain one of the listeners. Earth turns. Radio telescopes wait in deserts and valleys. Satellites watch the sky above the atmosphere. Computers sift through oceans of data. Humans sleep beneath the stars, most of them unaware that somewhere, quietly, the species is listening. And maybe across the galaxy, others are doing the same. Not enemies, not neighbors, not gods, not monsters. Just other islands of thought, surrounded by distance, looking outward into the same ancient dark. If they exist, perhaps they wonder why no one speaks. Perhaps they have no idea that we are here, wondering the same thing. That is the strange tenderness of this possibility. The silence may not separate the lonely from the non-existent. It may separate the lonely from the lonely. Everyone waiting, everyone listening, no one speaking loudly enough to be heard. And so the stars remain quiet. For now. As we drift onward, another question waits in the dark. What if the silence is not only caused by distance, weakness, timing, or caution? What if there is something more difficult in the path from simple life to a civilization that can last? What if life begins often, but rarely becomes technological? Or what if civilizations do become technological, but almost none survive long enough to spread, speak, or be found? This is the idea sometimes called the Great Filter, a hidden difficulty somewhere along the long road from chemistry to stars. Maybe it is behind us. Maybe it is ahead. Maybe it is the reason the galaxy feels so still. And as the Milky Way keeps turning quietly above us, we move now toward that darker question, not as a warning, not as a prediction, but as another soft layer in the mystery of why the universe has not answered yet. Maybe the silence is not only outside us. Maybe part of it is hidden inside the long path that leads from simple matter to a civilization that can ask questions among the stars. Because before a world can send a signal, before it can build a telescope, before it can wonder whether the night is empty, many things have to happen. A planet has to form in the right kind of place. It has to be stable long enough. It has to have chemistry rich enough. It may need liquid water or something like it. It may need an atmosphere that can protect and change. It may need energy flowing through its oceans, its rocks, its skies, or its deep hidden vents. Then life has to begin. Not just molecules, not just chemistry, but chemistry that learns somehow to copy itself, to change, to survive, to become a living process. And after that, life has to remain. Through impacts, through climate shifts, through frozen ages, through volcanic ages, through changes in the air, changes in the oceans, changes in the star above it. Then life has to grow more complex. Cells have to cooperate. Bodies have to form. Senses have to appear. Nervous systems have to organize the world into signals. Some form of intelligence has to emerge. And not just intelligence. A very particular kind. The kind that can build tools, share knowledge, preserve discoveries, pass ideas across generations, and eventually understand that the lights in the sky are other suns. That is not a simple road. It may be a narrow road. And somewhere along that road, there may be a step that almost no world passes. That idea is often called the Great Filter. The name sounds dramatic, almost harsh, but the thought behind it is quiet. If the galaxy has many planets, and if some of those planets could support life, and if billions of years have passed, then why do we not see obvious signs of other civilizations? One possibility is that something in the chain is extremely difficult. Something filters out most worlds before they ever become visible to the stars. It does not have to be one single event. It could be many. A series of narrow gates, a long staircase where almost every world stops on a different step. Maybe the filter is at the very beginning. Maybe life itself is rare. Maybe the jump from lifeless chemistry to living cells is far harder than we hope. Earth may have crossed that boundary early in its history, but we do not know whether that was normal or astonishing. From Earth, it is tempting to think life begins naturally when conditions are right. Warm water, organic molecules, energy, time. But maybe that is not enough. Maybe many planets have oceans for billions of years and never cross the invisible line into life. Maybe their seas remain chemically rich, beautiful, restless, and empty. Waves under alien moons, lightning over dark water, minerals dissolving near warm vents. All the ingredients present, but no spark that becomes a cell. If that is the filter, then the silence means something profound. It means Earth crossed an early threshold that almost no world crosses. It means life, not intelligence, is the rare miracle. In that kind of universe, there may be countless planets that look almost ready, worlds with water and skies and chemistry, but no living thing ever opens within them. The galaxy would not be dead. It would be unfinished, full of places where life almost began. Another possibility is that simple life may be common, but complex life is rare. Maybe the universe has many worlds with microbes, hidden life, tiny life, life beneath ice, life in oceans, life clinging to rocks, breathing through chemistry, slowly changing its planet over deep time. But perhaps most life stays small. On Earth, simple life existed for billions of years before complex bodies became common. For a very long time, our planet was alive, but not with forests, animals, wings, eyes, or minds. It was a microbial world, quiet from a distance, powerful in its chemistry, but invisible to the galaxy. Maybe that is the usual outcome, a living planet that never becomes loud. A world rich with cells, but without cities, without radio, without anything that another star could hear. If that is true, the Milky Way may contain life in many places and still remain silent. The silence would not mean biology is rare. It would mean technology is. It would mean the universe may be full of living oceans that never look up. There is a softness in that thought. A sadness, but also a kind of beauty. Because a world does not need telescopes to matter. A sea beneath ice, filled with quiet life, would still be one of the universe's great achievements. A planet of forests without technology would still be alive. A moon with strange ecosystems in a dark ocean would still be a place where matter found a way to continue itself. But from Earth, listening for signals, such worlds would give us almost nothing. No voice, no beacon, no answer, only silence from living places. Maybe the filter comes later? Maybe complex life appears, but intelligence like ours does not. Evolution does not have a destination. It does not aim toward radio telescopes. It does not work like a ladder climbing toward civilization. It simply follows survival, adaptation, accident, opportunity, and time. On Earth, many forms of life have been successful without building technology. Trees have covered continents. Insects have shaped ecosystems. Dinosaurs ruled for ages. Whales sing in the deep. Octopuses solve problems with strange, flexible minds. Birds navigate across oceans. Social animals cooperate, remember, teach, and mourn. Life can be intelligent in many ways, but most intelligence does not become technological. A mind can know its world without trying to leave it. A species can be clever without making radio. A planet can be full of awareness and still never alter its star's light in a way another civilization could detect. Maybe technological intelligence is not the natural climax of life. Maybe it is an unusual branch. A rare accident of body, environment, pressure, language, fire, hands, memory, and culture. On Earth, only one species built radio telescopes. Not because other animals failed. They followed their own successful paths. The path to technology may require a strange combination. A body able to manipulate the world, a brain able to plan beyond instinct. A social life able to preserve knowledge, a planet with fire available. A surface environment where tools matter, a stable climate long enough for culture to accumulate. A history not interrupted too often by catastrophe. Change one piece, and the path may bend away from the stars. If that is the filter, then the galaxy may be full of living worlds, even complex worlds, but almost none with civilizations that can be heard. There may be planets with vast migrations under purple skies. Planets with coral-like cities made by instinct, not engineering. Planets where intelligent ocean creatures communicate through color, pressure, and current, but never build machines because their environment does not lead them toward fire or metallurgy. Planets where minds are deep, rich, and ancient, but not technological. They would not be lesser, only different. And from our instruments, they would be silent. The great filter could also be ahead. That is the thought that feels darker. Maybe the difficult step is not behind us. Maybe many civilizations reach technology. Maybe they discover electricity, radio, industry, computation, spaceflight. Maybe they look upward, just as we do. And then, for reasons that repeat across worlds, they do not last. Perhaps technological civilizations tend to destabilize themselves. Perhaps they consume their environments faster than they learn to protect them. Perhaps their tools grow more powerful than their wisdom. Perhaps they become quiet not because they choose silence, but because their bright age is brief. This possibility is unsettling, and it should be handled gently. The purpose is not fear. The purpose is perspective. When we look at the stars and hear nothing, one possible interpretation is that many civilizations never reach our stage. Another is that they reach it, but do not remain visible for long. If that is true, the silence might not be the silence of a universe that never makes minds. It might be the silence of a universe where minds are fragile, where technology is a dangerous threshold, where the same intelligence that opens the sky also creates new ways to fall. We do not know. And because we do not know, the silence becomes a mirror. It asks what kind of civilization we are becoming. It asks whether listening to the universe also means learning to survive our own power. It asks whether the ability to send signals is less important than the ability to remain. But the great filter does not have to be a single doom waiting ahead. It may be a set of challenges, some biological, some environmental, some technological, some social, some cosmic. A planet can fail to form. Life can fail to begin. Life can fail to become complex. Complex life can fail to become intelligent. Intelligence can fail to become technological. Technology can fail to become sustainable. A civilization can fail to communicate. A signal can fail to arrive. A listener can fail to recognize it. Every step narrows the path. And yet, here we are. That matters too. Whatever the filters are, Earth has passed through many gates already. Atoms formed inside ancient stars. Those stars scattered heavy elements into space. The sun formed from enriched material. Earth gathered from dust. The planet cooled. Water persisted. Life began. Cells endured. Complexity grew. Bodies formed. Minds appeared. Language developed. Tools accumulated. Science emerged. And now, on one small world, a species has learned to ask whether the same story happened somewhere else. That is extraordinary. Not because it makes us the center, but because it shows that the universe can do this. At least once. The great filter can make the sky feel lonely, but it can also make Earth feel precious. A living world is not a small thing. A thinking world is not a small thing. A world that can listen to the stars is not a small thing. Maybe there are many. Maybe there are few. But the fact that one exists means the universe has crossed from matter into awareness. Stone became cell. Cell became mind. Mind became question. And the question became a signal pointed at the dark. This is why we should not let the great filter turn the universe into despair. It is not an answer. It is a framework. A way of saying that somewhere between a lifeless planet and a lasting interstellar civilization, the path may be very hard. But hard is not impossible. Rare is not never. Silence is not proof that the path cannot be crossed again. It only tells us that whatever the path is, it does not fill the galaxy with obvious voices. At least, not voices we can easily hear. There is another possibility, softer and stranger. Maybe the filter is not survival, but visibility. Maybe civilizations continue but become hard to detect. They may move inward, toward quiet efficiency. They may stop leaking energy. They may live in balance with their planets. They may abandon large broadcasts. They may communicate through methods too subtle for us. They may become old, patient, and nearly invisible. If so, the silence would not mean civilizations die. It would mean they disappear from our kind of search. A galaxy of mature civilizations might not glow with artificial noise. It might look natural, quiet, untouched. Not because intelligence is absent, but because long-lived intelligence learns not to waste energy across the void. That possibility changes the emotional weight of the great filter. Maybe the filter is not a graveyard. Maybe it is a veil. Maybe the civilizations that pass through it do not vanish. They simply become something we do not yet know how to see. Of course, we cannot rely on that hope. It is only one possibility. But it reminds us to stay humble. The night sky does not come with labels. It does not tell us which stars have lifeless worlds, which have simple life, which have hidden oceans, which have vanished civilizations, and which have quiet societies too subtle for our instruments. From far away, many different realities can look identical. A dead world, a living world without technology, a civilization before radio, a civilization after radio, a civilization hiding, a civilization listening, a civilization gone. All may appear as a faint point of light beside a star. This is why the silence is so difficult. It compresses many possibilities into one appearance, nothing obvious. That is all we have, nothing obvious, not nothing, not proof, just no obvious answer. The great filter lives inside that uncertainty. It asks us to imagine where the difficulty might be. Behind us, ahead of us, all around us? Different for every world? Maybe the galaxy is not silent for one reason. Maybe it is silent because many reasons overlap. Some planets never develop life. Some develop life, but not complexity. Some develop complexity, but not technology. Some develop technology, but not longevity. Some last, but do not broadcast. Some broadcast, but their signals fade. Some speak, but we do not understand. The result, from here, is one sky. One silence. Many possible histories hidden behind it. And perhaps that is the most honest way to hold the question, not as a single locked door, but as a long hallway of doors, most of them closed, some perhaps open far beyond our view. The great filter reminds us that the road to the stars is not guaranteed, but it also reminds us that every step already taken is meaningful. Earth is not just a planet that happened to produce a civilization. It is a planet that carried life through billions of years of uncertainty. It held oceans through impacts and ice ages. It let chemistry grow into forests, eyes, wings, and memory. It became a place where the universe could look outward and wonder whether it had done the same elsewhere. That should make us quieter, not smaller. Quieter in the way a person becomes quiet when standing in a cathedral or under a very old tree. Quiet with respect. Quiet with the awareness that what exists here may be rare, fragile, and worth protecting. If the great filter is behind us, then we are one of the lucky outcomes. If it is ahead of us, then our future matters more than we can measure. If it is spread across many steps, then every living world is a delicate victory against the odds. And if other civilizations are out there, they too have passed through their own filters, their own storms, their own accidents, their own narrow gates. They may not look like us, they may not think like us, but they would share one thing. They would be survivors of a long cosmic difficulty. Perhaps that is what we are really listening for, not just another signal, not just proof of intelligence, but proof that somewhere else, another world also made it through. Another world crossed the distance from chemistry to awareness. Another sky produced someone capable of asking why the night is so quiet. That would not solve every mystery. It would not tell us how common life is. It would not tell us whether civilizations last. It would not remove the distances or the horizons or the fading of signals. But it would change the silence. It would show that the silence was not complete, that the road had been crossed at least twice. For now, we do not have that proof. We have Earth. We have the stars. We have the question. And we have the dark between them. So as we drift through this part of the journey, let the great filter remain what it is. Not a sentence, not a prophecy, not a reason to stop listening, but a shadow along the path. A reminder that the universe may be full of worlds, but the path from world to voice may be narrow. A reminder that intelligence, if it appears, may need care to endure. A reminder that the silence above us might be telling us not only about distance, but about fragility. And still, the story is not finished. Because even if the path is narrow, a narrow path can be walked. Even if signals are rare, rare signals can exist. Even if civilizations are few, few is not none. The universe may still be alive in places we have not seen. It may still hold oceans under ice, forests under unfamiliar suns, quiet minds beneath alien constellations, and civilizations too distant, too careful, or too different to have touched our instruments. The silence does not force us into despair. It asks for patience. It asks for better listening. It asks for humility. And perhaps most of all, it asks us not to confuse the absence of an answer with the end of the question. The great filter may explain part of the silence, but it does not prove the universe is empty. It only tells us that if others are out there, they are the result of long, difficult, delicate stories, just as we are. And that brings us toward the next, gentler thought. After all the barriers, after light speed, fading signals, timing, horizons, dust, caution, and possible filters, we might be tempted to say the silence means we are alone. But that may be too quick, too simple, too final for a universe this large. Because silence can mean many things. It can mean no one is there. But it can also mean no one is close enough. No one is loud enough. No one is speaking now. No one is speaking in a way we understand. No one has crossed the narrow path at the right time and place for us to notice. The universe may not be empty. It may simply be very hard to hear. And that is where we go next, not into certainty, but into possibility, into the thought that the silence above Earth may not be proof of loneliness. It may be proof of distance, difficulty, and the deep patience required to find another mind among the stars. After all of this, it would be easy to look up at the night sky and feel that the silence means only one thing: that we are alone. That Earth is the only world where the universe has opened its eyes. That every star is only a star. Every planet only stone, ice, gas, or dust. Every distant ocean, if it exists at all, empty beneath its alien sky. But that may be too simple, too final, too small an answer for a universe this large, because silence is not the same as emptiness. Silence can come from distance. Silence can come from time. Silence can come from weakness. Silence can come from signals fading before they arrive. Silence can come from worlds that are alive, but not technological. It can come from civilizations that have already passed through their loud age. It can come from civilizations not yet born. It can come from listeners waiting for listeners. It can come from messages moving through space right now, still thousands of years away from reaching any shore. And so, when we look into the dark and hear nothing, we have to be careful. The silence is real, but what it means is still unknown. That is the important difference. The universe has not told us that we are alone. It is only not answered yet. And not answering is not the same as saying no. Think again of the ocean at night. A person stands on one shore, listening across the water. There are no visible lights beyond the horizon, no voices, no ships, no reply. From that one place, in that one moment, the ocean feels empty. But the person does not know what lies beyond the curve of the world. There may be islands too far to see, boats moving without lights, coastlines hidden by weather. Other people standing on other shores, listening in the same direction. The silence does not prove the ocean is empty. It only proves the shore is far away. The universe may be like that. Not silent because nothing exists. Silent because everything is separated by too much space, too much time, and too many ways for a signal to be lost. This does not make the mystery smaller. It makes it deeper. Because an empty universe and a hidden universe can look almost identical from the inside. A galaxy with no other civilizations would be quiet. But a galaxy with civilizations separated by thousands of light years, speaking at the wrong times, using the wrong channels, or choosing not to broadcast loudly, would also be quiet. From Earth, both skies look the same. Stars, darkness, no confirmed voice. That is why the silence cannot be the end of the question. It is only the beginning of a more careful one. Not simply, is anyone out there? But what would it take for anyone out there to become visible to us? What kind of life would leave a trace? What kind of civilization would be loud enough to cross the dark? What kind of technology would change a planet or a star in a way our instruments could notice? What kinds of signals might we be missing because we do not yet know how to look? These questions keep the night open. They keep the universe from closing too quickly around loneliness. Already we have learned that planets are common. That alone changed everything. For most of human history, the stars were only lights, beautiful, distant, mysterious. People imagined worlds around them, but imagination was not evidence. Now we know that planets circle other stars. Thousands have been found. Many more are almost certainly waiting to be discovered. Some are giant worlds close to their stars, hotter than fire. Some are small rocky worlds. Some orbit red dwarfs. Some move around double stars. Some may have atmospheres. Some may have clouds. Some may have surfaces where chemistry has been unfolding for billions of years. We have not found another Earth. Not truly, not yet. But we have learned that planet making is not rare. The universe knows how to build worlds. That matters. Because every world is a possibility, most will not be alive. Most will be too hot, too cold, too violent, too dry, too unstable, too crushed by gravity, too exposed to radiation, or too chemically poor. But with so many worlds, possibility has room to breathe. There may be planets with deep oceans under thick ice, planets with warm seas beneath red skies, moons heated by the pull of giant planets, worlds where life, if it exists, never sees the stars above it, worlds where biology may be hidden underground, beneath kilometers of rock or water. Such life would not send radio signals. It would not build telescopes. It would not answer us. But it would still matter. It would mean the universe is not sterile. It would mean Earth is not the only place where chemistry crossed into life. And perhaps the first discovery of life beyond Earth will not be a message from another civilization. Perhaps it will be something quieter. A chemical clue, a trace in an atmosphere, a strange imbalance that should not last unless something is renewing it. A pattern in the ice of a moon, a microscopic fossil in ancient rock, a living ocean beneath a frozen crust. No voice, no greeting, no technology, just life. That would still change everything, because if life appears twice in one small solar neighborhood, then the universe begins to feel very different. Not crowded with civilizations necessarily, not full of voices, but alive in a deeper way. A universe where life can happen more than once is not the same as a universe where it happened only here. And even if most life never becomes technological, the silence would become softer. Less like a tomb, more like a forest at night. Quiet from a distance, but full of hidden living things. This is why we should not focus only on civilizations. Civilizations are loud in our imagination, but life itself may be quiet. The universe may be filled with quiet biology, oceans that breathe slowly, microbes under ice, worlds where sunlight never reaches the living places, planets where evolution takes paths that do not lead to machines. If we are listening only for technology, we may be missing the larger story. The night may not be empty. It may simply be mostly nonverbal. Life may not always speak in signals. Sometimes it speaks in chemistry, in oxygen, in methane, in pigments, in minerals shaped by cells, in atmospheres out of balance, in the delicate fingerprints of a living planet. And our instruments are only beginning to learn that language. This is one reason the silence should make us patient, not hopeless. We are still young listeners. Our search has only begun. Radio astronomy is young. Exoplanet science is younger still. The study of distant atmospheres is just opening. The ability to search for biosignatures and technosignatures is still in its early chapters. It may take generations to build the tools that can hear what the universe is actually offering. A person who listens for 1 second in a forest and hears no birds should not conclude the forest has none. They may be listening at the wrong hour, in the wrong season, from too far away, with ears not tuned to the right sounds. Humanity has been listening to the cosmos for only a tiny moment. A moment so brief that, against the age of the galaxy, it is almost nothing. That does not make the search meaningless. It makes every year of listening part of a beginning. We are learning how to ask. We are learning where to look. We are learning what kinds of worlds exist. We are learning which stars host planets. We are learning how atmospheres reveal themselves through light. We are learning how natural signals behave, so that one day something unnatural might stand out more clearly. We are learning the difference between noise and pattern, between hope and evidence, between silence and absence. That is slow work. But the universe is a slow place. It rewards patience more than certainty. Somewhere in the future, perhaps, a telescope will study a small rocky planet passing in front of its star. The light will pass through that planet's atmosphere. A tiny amount of starlight will carry the chemical memory of the air below. Scientists will separate the light into colors. They will look for gases, water vapor, carbon dioxide, oxygen, methane, other molecules perhaps that do not belong together unless something active is maintaining them. At first, the result will be uncertain. There will be caution. Many explanations, many checks. Other telescopes will look again. Years may pass, and slowly a possibility may grow stronger. Not a radio signal, not a city, not a face, not a voice, but a world whose air seems alive. That may be how the silence first changes. Not with someone saying hello, but with a planet quietly breathing around another star. Or perhaps the first sign will be technological. Not a message, but a footprint. A planet whose night side glows too brightly. An atmosphere containing chemicals difficult to explain without industry. A pattern of reflected light suggesting artificial structures. Waste heat from energy use. A star dimming in an unusual way. A narrow signal that repeats, not loudly but persistently enough to survive doubt. A small piece of order where nature alone seems unlikely. The first proof may not be dramatic. It may not feel like science fiction. It may be a graph, a spectrum, a data point. A tiny irregularity that refuses to go away. And yet, inside that small irregularity could be the greatest discovery in human history. Another life, another world, another mind. The silence broken not by volume, but by recognition. This is why we keep looking. Not because we are certain, but because uncertainty is not emptiness. The universe has surprised us before. It surprised us when Earth was not the center. It surprised us when the stars became suns. It surprised us when the Milky Way became one galaxy among many. It surprised us when planets turned out to be common. It surprised us when space itself was found to be expanding. Again and again, the universe has become larger, stranger, and richer than the human imagination first allowed. So perhaps we should be cautious before declaring the silence final. Our instruments are still small compared with the dark. Our search is still brief compared with time. Our understanding of intelligence is based on one example. Our understanding of life is based on one world. We may be trying to recognize the universe's other stories using only the alphabet of our own. That does not mean we are helpless. It means we are at the beginning. A child does not understand a whole library by opening one page. Humanity has opened only a few pages of the cosmic library. Most remain unread. Some may be written in light we have not learned to interpret. Some may be too faint. Some may be too distant. Some may never reach us. But some may be close enough. Some may already be arriving. Some may be waiting for an instrument not yet built. And that thought is worth holding gently. The universe may not be empty. It may be quiet in the way deep things are quiet. Quiet like an ocean under ice. Quiet like seeds beneath winter soil. Quiet like a sleeping city before dawn. Quiet like a forest when you are still too far away to hear the leaves move. From here, all of that quiet can feel like loneliness. But loneliness is an interpretation. Silence is the observation. We should not confuse the two too quickly. There is another comfort in this. Even if we never find another civilization, the search itself changes us. It teaches us to see Earth differently. Against the silence, our planet becomes brighter. Not brighter in the sky. Brighter in meaning. A world with oceans. A world with weather. a world with green continents and blue shadows, a world where living things have shaped the air, a world where one species learned to measure starlight, build antennas, and ask whether the same miracle has happened elsewhere. When we search for life beyond Earth, we are also learning how rare and delicate Earth may be. The silence does not only point outward, it turns us back home. It reminds us that a living planet is not guaranteed, that intelligence is not guaranteed, that a civilization capable of wonder is not guaranteed. The search for others can make us more careful with ourselves. Because whether the universe is full or empty, Earth is the only living world we know. For now, it is the only confirmed place where the universe sings, speaks, remembers, dreams, and asks questions about itself. That should not make us arrogant. It should make us gentle. Gentle with the planet, gentle with the future, gentle with the fragile light of awareness that has appeared here. And if one day we find another living world, that gentleness will only grow. We will know that life is not a single accident, that the universe has other gardens, other experiments, other shores, perhaps other minds. And if we never find one, then Earth becomes even more precious. In both cases, the search matters. The silence matters. The listening matters. Because it is part of what a thinking world does when it realizes it is surrounded by stars. It wonders. It reaches. It waits. It refuses to let the absence of an answer become the death of the question. So tonight, as we rest under the silent sky, we do not need to decide what the silence means. We can let it remain open. Maybe it is the silence of distance. Maybe the silence of timing. Maybe the silence of hidden life. Maybe the silence of careful civilizations. Maybe the silence of a universe where voices are rare, but not impossible. Maybe somewhere, right now, another world is listening. Maybe somewhere a signal is traveling. Maybe somewhere life is beginning in a warm sea. Maybe somewhere beneath a red star a civilization has not yet looked up. Maybe somewhere, under ice, a dark ocean is alive without ever seeing the sky. Maybe somewhere, an ancient message is still crossing the spaces between stars, patient as light, carrying a greeting from a time we will never know. We do not know. And that is not a failure. It is the shape of the mystery. The universe may not be empty. It may simply be too large to answer quickly, too old to speak in one moment, too subtle to be understood by our first attempts at listening. The silence above us is not a locked door. It is a dark horizon, and horizons invite patience. They invite us to keep watching as the light changes, to keep listening as our instruments improve, to keep asking better questions, to keep remembering that the first answer is not always the true one. For now, the stars remain quiet. But quiet does not mean dead. Quiet does not mean empty. Quiet does not mean alone. It means we are still listening from the shore, and the ocean is wide. Soon, we will return to that shore, to Earth, to the soft night above our own world, to the radio dishes waiting under cold stars, to the cities glowing faintly on the dark side of the planet, to the small human act of lying still beneath an enormous sky and letting the mystery become peaceful. Because after traveling through all these barriers, light, distance, time, fading signals, horizons, dust, caution, and the unknown filters of life, we come back to one gentle truth. We may not know whether anyone else is out there, but we know that we are here, awake for a little while, listening, wondering, and resting beneath the silent stars. And now, after traveling so far through the silence, we return home. Back from the edges of the observable universe, back from the dark horizon no telescope can cross, back from the dusty arms of the Milky Way. back from the thought of fading signals, vanished civilizations, hidden oceans, distant listeners, and worlds that may never know we are here. Back to Earth. A small blue planet turning quietly beneath the stars. From far away, Earth does not look loud. It does not look like a world full of questions. It does not show its languages, its songs, its memories, its fears, its hopes, or its dreams. From far enough away, Earth is only a pale point of light. A tiny reflection beside an ordinary star. One small world among many. And yet, from here, from the surface, it is everything. It is oceans and clouds. It is mountains under snow. It is rain moving across dark fields. It is cities glowing softly at night. It is forests breathing under the moon. It is radio dishes waiting in quiet valleys. It is satellites passing overhead like slow sparks. It is people looking upward, wondering whether somewhere, far beyond the familiar stars, another sky shelters another question. The universe may be built in a way that keeps civilizations apart. It may place distance between them. It may place time between them. It may weaken their voices. It may hide them behind dust, horizons, and the slow expansion of space. It may allow worlds to become alive, aware, and curious, while still never letting them meet. But the silence does not erase the wonder. It deepens it. Because here we are. On one small world, in one quiet corner of one galaxy, during one brief moment in cosmic history, asking a question large enough to touch the edge of everything we know. Where is everybody? Maybe the answer is out there. Maybe it is traveling toward us now, faint and patient, crossing the dark between stars. Maybe it will arrive long after we are gone. Maybe it passed Earth before we were ready to hear it. Maybe it will never arrive at all. Maybe no one has answered because no one is close enough. Maybe no one has answered because everyone is listening. Maybe no one has answered because life is rare, fragile, and hidden. Maybe the universe is full of quiet worlds that do not speak in ways we understand. Maybe the first sign will not be a voice, but a breath. A distant atmosphere out of balance. A chemical fingerprint in starlight. A small clue that somewhere else, under another sun, life has also learned how to remain. We do not know. And tonight, we do not need to force the mystery closed. Some questions are too large to answer quickly. Some silences are too deep to explain with one idea. The night sky does not ask us to solve everything before we rest. It simply opens above us. Wide, ancient, patient. The stars continue burning whether we understand them or not. The galaxies continue drifting. The light continues traveling. Some of it has crossed space for years, some for centuries, some for millions of years. Some began its journey before humans ever walked the earth. And now it arrives quietly, touching our sky, entering our telescopes, falling into our eyes. Every star above you is an old message. Every patch of darkness is part of a larger story. Every silence between the stars carries the weight of distance, time, and possibility. There may be no one out there, or there may be many. Worlds we will never reach. Minds we will never know. Civilizations too far away, too early, too late, too quiet, or too different to become part of our sky. But even if we never hear them, the act of listening still matters. It says something about us. It says that Earth is not only a world of survival, not only a world of hunger, shelter, weather, and time. It is also a world of wonder, a world where matter became aware enough to ask what else matter might become. A world where one species learned that the stars were suns, that suns could have planets, that planets could have oceans, and that oceans might somewhere become alive. We listen because we can. We ask because the sky is there. We wonder because silence is not enough to stop the question. And perhaps that is its own kind of light. Not the light of a star, not the light of a beacon crossing the galaxy, but the small inward light of awareness, the light of a mind awake for a little while in the dark. Maybe that is what every civilization is, if others exist. A small flame under a vast sky, a temporary warmth in a cold universe, a place where atoms remember themselves, a place where the cosmos opens its eyes. And maybe, scattered across the Milky Way, there are other flames. Some already gone, some not yet lit, some burning quietly right now, too far away for us to see. Each one surrounded by its own night, each one listening through its own silence, each one wondering if the dark beyond its world is empty or only distant. There is sadness in that thought. But there is peace in it too. Because the universe does not need to be small for life to matter. It does not need to be easy to cross for wonder to be real. Even if every civilization is separated by walls of distance and time, each one still means something. Each one is a rare opening in the long dark. Each one is a place where the universe becomes capable of care, memory, curiosity, and awe. And here, on Earth, that opening exists. For now, we know that much. We know there is at least one world where the night sky is not only seen, but questioned. At least one world where telescopes rise from mountains and deserts. At least one world where people lie awake under the stars and feel the strange pull of the unknown. At least one world where the silence has been noticed. That may be more precious than we usually allow ourselves to feel. So, as this journey comes to an end, let the question become softer, not smaller, softer. You do not have to solve the Fermi Paradox tonight. You do not have to decide whether the galaxy is empty or alive. You do not have to imagine every distance, every signal, every horizon, every hidden world. You can simply rest beneath the mystery. The Earth is still turning. The moon is still holding its quiet place. The sun is waiting on the other side of the world. The stars are still burning beyond the atmosphere. And somewhere, deep in the night, instruments are listening. A radio telescope under a cold sky, a spacecraft drifting beyond the planets, a mirror in orbit catching ancient light, a computer searching through patterns too faint for human eyes. The listening continues, gently, patiently. Not because an answer is guaranteed, but because the question is worthy. Maybe one day the silence will change. Maybe a signal will appear in the data. Maybe a distant world will show signs of life. Maybe a pattern will repeat from a quiet star. Maybe a future generation will hear something we were not able to hear. And maybe they will look back at this early time and understand that we were only beginning. The first listeners. The first uncertain watchers. The ones who stood on the shore of the cosmic ocean and heard only waves. For now, there is no confirmed voice, no clear reply, no undeniable sign of another civilization. Only the stars, only the dark, only the long patience of light. But that is not nothing. The stars are enough to begin with. The silence is enough to wonder through. The question is enough to keep alive. So tonight, let the universe remain wide. Let the unanswered places stay unanswered. Let the unknown stretch beyond the edge of thought. Let the mind grow quiet under the scale of it all. You are here on Earth, beneath a sky filled with ancient light. A small living world in a galaxy of hundreds of billions of suns. A world that has not yet found another voice, but has not stopped listening. Above you, the night is deep. The stars are distant. The dark between them is vast. And somewhere beyond that dark, perhaps there are other shores. Perhaps there are other skies. Perhaps there are other minds resting beneath their own constellations, wondering why the universe feels so quiet. Maybe they are listening too. Maybe they are dreaming. Maybe they will never know us. Maybe we will never know them. But for this moment, the mystery can be peaceful. The silence can be gentle. The stars can remain unanswered and still beautiful. The universe may be built to keep us apart, but it also built the part of us that reaches, the part that listens, the part that looks up even when no answer comes. And now, beneath that silent sky, it is enough to rest. Let the earth turn slowly. Let the old light arrive. Let the distant stars burn quietly in the dark. And let the question drift above you, soft and unfinished. Are we alone? We do not know, not yet, maybe not ever. But we are here, listening, wondering. And for tonight, that is enough. Good night.